How's it going, everyone, and welcome to another episode of No Excuses on VGWProductions.com and YouTube.com with your favorite show hosts, Aristil.
Fenarian.
And Volacel, and we're here to bring you the latest news and commentary for the week. But first of all, if you'd like to get involved with the show, you can do so by sending us email at noexcusesvtw@gmail.com, or you can follow us on the Twitter at noexcusesvtw, or you can join us in our Discord server and converse with the show hosts and other listeners to the show anytime you like by clicking on the link that should be in the description underneath the show archive on YouTube, or you can go and click on the show logo on any of our show posts at vtwproductions.com.
Yes, indeedy.
One day, we may even establish our own autonomous zone on the internet, and you can come join us at the NIAZ.
I knew you wouldn't be able to help yourself.
I couldn't.
Yeah. Also,
Oh.
Niaz.
So, No Excuses Autonomous Zone.
Eh.
So,
Yeah,
this
that's...
has been the most hilarious week in the history of weeks. And I'm sure I won't be able to hold myself back, but maybe these two will while they talk about their week.
Probably not, maybe. We'll try and avoid going on to that, but...
I didn't spend as much time as you did dwelling on him, I'm afraid. I know it's a terrible character flaw, but...
It's just so funny.
Honestly, when I heard about it the very first time, I thought it was a TV show. Honestly. Like a really bad reality TV show, but nope.
I thought it was a Babylon Bee article.
That's even worse.
You can't make this up.
So, Babylon Bee does not exactly go out of their way to make their headlines even remotely credible.
You know,
And yet all of them are still completely believable.
Gotta love that Poe's law.
person attempts to set up an autonomous zone within the autonomous zone to get away from Raz, leader of the Chaz.
Leader of the Chaz, it's the Raz. Oh, what have I done here? Okay, so on the stream today, I'm going to just play a bit of No Man's Sky, but not right now because my graphic settings are completely out of whack. So that's fun. So, yeah. I wanted to have another look at it because they've changed it a lot again, and I want to see what exactly the whole spaceship growing system is all about. But the disk drive on my PS4 is dead, so I've had to pull it off the Microsoft Store, which means this will probably catch fire and explode the moment I restart my computer.
Oh, I can totes play that in VR with you, by the way, at some point.
You totes could, if we could find each other.
Yes, if we could find each other.
The
I
universe
think they
is...
put in a system to make you able to do that easier.
Yeah, you can kind of jump to each other's locations now or something like that.
I still haven't even gotten my ship working properly yet. I'm still on the first planet.
Oh yeah, it tutorializes for a good 3 hours.
Yeah, I'm only...
They're still putting effort in.
They are, actually, and I think it's the sort of thing that really, at this point, should be commended for. They haven't asked for any additional money. Although,
They need to send... Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess it shows how much love they actually had for the project originally before everything went sideways.
Actually,
They need to send Internet Historian a freaking, wine basket or something as a thank you gift for correcting so many people's opinions on the game.
Internet Historian recently did a very good video about No Man's Sky, which shows kind of both sides of the story. First being the side that the public really latched onto, where everything was awful and we basically got lied to. But then showed it from the Hello Games side, and it's an excellent watch.
Well, they still made mistakes, and they did still lie. That needs to be held over their head. But they've done enough right where I can forgive that now.
Yep.
But you don't hear about any of the right stuff they did that outweighs them lying to us.
Yeah, but they have done a lot, and they haven't asked for any additional money from
Unlike certain companies like Bethesda.
Bethesda.
Oh boy, Bethesda.
I mean, Bethesda did the right thing by releasing the Wastelands expansion for free, but at the same time, they've still got the microtransaction shop, they've still got, Fallout Now.
Did Wastelanders actually move the needle at all?
Yeah, it did. It moved it to, this is where the game should have been at launch.
Even then, is it really there, though?
Well, it's there by, the Bethesda level.
So, we say games that are released at launch are not finished nowadays. So saying that's where it is expected to be at launch or where it should have been at launch are two different things.
Yeah, this is where it was expected to be at launch. And this is for people who are
but
taking in
Bethesda,
mind...
that means barely functional and still needs to be fixed by the player base.
Correct. It is a Bethesda game after all. So, yeah. The only minor thing I think is a little bit cheeky from No Man's Sky is that the price on a lot of platforms has actually gone back up to full price again. It's crept back up. Because at one point you could get it from like $5 from just about everywhere.
Yeah.
I'm not going to hold that against them too much, though.
Well, they do have to have an income with them having the same people keep working to fix their project. And now that they got it fixed, they need to keep paying those people and pay them for the time they spent.
Yes.
And if they're not starting any new projects because they're committed to making sure this project works, and they undo their boo-boo, they need money so that they can eat.
Yes. And I'm just glad for them. Like, they've done a great job, and they haven't done what a lot of other developers have done, where it's put the product out. Oh, it doesn't work. It's a horrible, buzzy mess. Oh well, we're just going to walk away.
You can be 85 points in the hole with my opinion of you, and if your solution to the problems you had was we're just going to shut up and get back to work and fix it, that gets you like a full 120 points.
Yeah,
you're well more than out of the hole if that's your response.
Yeah.
Well, it's because what that really is an implicit admission that you done wrong. Mm-hmm. Because what people object to is the implicit assertion that they're infallible and you just thought you did, but you didn't.
Bethesda.
That's the real problem, because that's an insult to the player. That's a slap in the face to the player. Releasing a product that is bad and then furiously trying to fix it as soon as possible. That's not adding insult to injury. That's just the injury, and the injury will heal. The insult takes a lot longer to heal, because when you come out and say, "Oh no, there's nothing wrong with the game. You're just enjoying it wrong," like Bethesda does.
Like Bethesda does, yes.
That's a different kettle of fish.
Yeah, I think EA did that with Mass Effect Andromeda as well. So, alright, so that's that. I'm just going to play a bit of No Man's Sky and have a look around and see what's happened. I know they completely redid the tutorials because they now incorporate base building into it. They took a lot of the rubbish out of the tutorial but replaced it with just more stuff in general. Unfortunately, all the stuff, your starting planet is always going to be very boring and dull, and your starter ship is always going to be abysmally awful. It's always the same ship. Anyway, so my week this week has actually been a little bit interesting. I got dragged back into playing a little bit of Elite Dangerous. You know, Star Citizen without the lies.
I still see people defending that and saying that it's actually incredibly tech, and sometimes they even make semi-compelling arguments that, oh well, this is the reason why it's been delayed 5 billion times, but I'm still waiting to see that thing come out. Hasn't done it yet.
Hasn't happened yet. What is that?
Like, the logo on the front of the t-shirt I bought at PAX the year we went there and we saw them do their presentation on Star Citizen, the logo has
fell asleep during the panel.
Disappeared. Yeah, well, it was dull as ditch water.
It was. They didn't even talk about anything people were remotely interested in.
That t-shirt, the logo has almost entirely worn off in the wash at this point, and Star Citizen appears to be no closer to completion.
Yeah, you can get a build and have a play with some bits of it. The game is largely incomplete, that there are bits you can play. And what is there is very, very cool. But is it... Geez, what even are we up to now? 100-something million cool. Yeah. Whereas, on the other hand, you've got Elite Dangerous, which has been out for yonks now, and they're still adding more content. What they did this patch, just in time actually, is... they launched a new patch which firstly added a new element, so they had to rearrange all of the resource nodes in the world or the galaxy. I'll come back to that in a moment. And they also launched fleet carriers for players, which the player base immediately turned into both resourcing hubs and intergalactic bus service. Which is actually really cool. Like, you can jump onto some random person's fleet carrier, and if they happen to be going to some place you want, you just ride it to wherever you want to go.
So you can be an interstellar remora.
Yeah, you can. There is always, however, the possibility of logging off on somebody's fleet carrier and somehow ending up at the galactic core. So if you're going to log off on a fleet carrier, make sure you know who it is.
What, you think somebody's going to just fly you directly into the galactic core just because you're there?
They might not even know you're there. Like, if you log off, your ship is invisible. If you're actually on a station, other players can watch it be pulled into the hangar, but otherwise it just pops out of existence. So, yeah, if the carrier moves while you're offline, I believe you go with it.
So what's allegedly at the galactic core? Like,
there's a big black hole there.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
So it's very much a place you don't want to find yourself unexpectedly going on holiday.
No, if you're in even a remotely kind of semi-decent ship, it'll probably take you a week to get back to the bubble. The bubble being basically the little patch of space where humanity lives. Oh. They seem to have changed how language stones work. Okay. Oh. I just learned the Gek word for Gek. That's the thing now. Okay. So yeah, that's a good thing. But because they reshuffled the resources, there was a massive community rush to find the new hotspot, the new big shiny deposit where you go and you mine diamonds for stupid amounts of profit.
So in order for there to be a massive community rush, does that mean that there is now currently a massive community?
Yes. There is. There are loads of people who play that game. There's a load of people actually who wanted to play Star Citizen but can't, so they play Elite Dangerous instead.
I guess, yeah. All of the sinkhole from all of the broken dreams, they all wind up at Elite Dangerous in the end, don't they?
Because it does everything that Star Citizen promises to do. Well, not yet, actually. They've just announced a new expansion which allows you to get out of your ship and walk around, which is something that Elite Dangerous does.
I mean, I was under the impression that Star Citizen was just supposed to be Freelancer. That was my impression.
That's what it started was. Like, it's Freelancer, but modernized, and there's more of it. In which case, yes, yum, yum, gimme, gimme. But, oh, good grief, it's the poster child for feature creep. And it's kind of getting beyond a joke. They need to stop adding features and just finish the damn game. So yeah, Elite Dangerous. There was going to be this big push by the developers, like they're saying, it'll probably be a month before they find a new spot. No, it was less than a day. I jumped on it just in time to see the end of the exploration. I managed to scan maybe one planet, and then Reddit lit up with someone finding the actual deposit. So yeah, that's good fun. The only other downside is now you jump into that system and it is chock full of fleet carriers, so you say goodbye to your frame rate. Yeah, keep in mind, this is an accurately scaled galaxy as well. So having a lot of fleet carriers in the system and them actually starting to be a problem in a system that's accurately the size of the Earth solar system, that's a lot of fleet carriers.
So do you think that this is these changes are aimed at expanding the player base, or is it quality of life for people who are already playing?
Bit of both. The fleet carriers system, basically for newer players or low tech or low experience players, are only going to get the benefits from other players who have one already, who have a carrier set up, selling services. If you want to actually buy a fleet carrier, you need a stupid amount of money right from the get-go, and you need to maintain a stupid amount of income in order to keep the carrier. As time goes on, the fleet carrier builds up running costs, and if you fail to run it, then you will just lose the carrier. We're talking like billions of credits here, and generally 1 billion credits is a big deal.
So Eve scale.
Eve scale. So yeah, that was a lot of fun. I I did the probably what a lot of people might consider silly, and I think I just did it for the giggles, is I took myself a very fancy luxury passenger liner and fitted it out for mining.
Why?
It actually does the
What's wrong
job
with the
quite
mining
well.
part?
I mean, I'm mining diamonds. You got to do it in style.
I guess that's true.
Yeah, the good thing about the game is you can refit any ship to do just about any jobs. There are some ships which are just not good in certain roles, but they're not incapable of doing it. And then there's a handful of ships which are just crap, so... so yeah, that was largely my week. It's just pottering around in Elite Dangerous, getting myself familiarized with that game, and completely destroying some rich snob spaceship, which I may or may not have bought secondhand. I have no idea. I think if it's a secondhand ship, it just makes it all the better.
So, have they? So this is just a rearranging of distribution of resources, really, is it? And adding of some new systems. So there's not like new assets or anything being added.
Not particularly, no. The fleet carriers actually, I think, existed in the game already, but there was maybe half a dozen around the place you could find. So
And now everyone.
Yeah, now they've just hooked the paints system into the microtransaction store and allowed players to buy one. The new expansion is going to add a whole lot though, so we'll see what happens there.
And when's that scheduled for?
No idea. What actually happened is apparently there was a leak for the expansion. So instead of trying to bury the leak, they just said, "Oh, screw it, let's just put the trailer out."
Sounds fair enough to me.
Mm-hmm. This is new. Okay. Apparently I can hire a farmer now. That's new.
Why do you want a farmer?
To make the food, I guess. Because yeah, you can grow and make food in this game now. You can have that. Yeah, you rep. So yeah, that's pretty much been my week. It's just pottering around in various types of space.
Space. Speaking of space, did you pick up that remaster?
Not yet.
Yeah, I've got a co-worker who did, and I think it more or less ate him alive.
Yeah, I'm afraid that might
A
actually
lot of
happen.
fondness for classic CNC.
And that EA didn't EA it.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was Westwood people who were in charge of the project, so...
Yeah. So by all
presumably
reports,
they had
it's
some
great.
affection for it.
If
More
they didn't, I'd be
affection than
worried.
Tim Curry has for capitalism.
Need more Tim Curry in our lives. We don't deserve Tim Curry. Spice.
Well, he'd be happy to know there is at least one more place that isn't infected by capitalism.
Unlike their Discord.
Unlike
apparently is.
Discord, which apparently is capitalism now.
Just can't stop making fun of these people. It's too funny.
Yeah. And for anyone who just saw that flash across my screen, yes, Fecium is in fact poo. I was carrying poo around.
Fecium.
Fecium.
You were carrying Fecium.
Yes, it is poo. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's
You're not playing
scientific
Slime
poo.
Rancher. What's your excuse? This is not a Blizzard game, and it's not Slime Rancher.
I did just sell poo for money, so it might be a Blizzard game. They never did actually fix the irritating pop-ups, by the way. Every time you achieve something, you have to go through this little jingle and a congratulations screen, and they never did fix that. You can skip it, but you have to hold the button down, and by the time it does the, the whatever prerequisite time for confirming it's pretty much over anyway. Actually, this game does that a lot. I'm not sure what it was during that era of the PS3 particularly, but there's a lot of games which just have you hold down buttons when a button press would normally do the job. is the stupidest thing.
I don't know why they feel that that's necessary. It's sort of like one of the precursors to the QuickTime event, I guess. They feel that it engages you more with the action or something.
Yeah. Like, if I recall, Bloodborne did it in a couple of points. Horizon Zero Dawn does it. But when it launched, No Man's Sky did it for everything. Like, doesn't matter what you were doing, as long as it wasn't like a direct input for your character or ship, you'd have to wait for it. And it served absolutely no purpose. It still doesn't. Anyway, Vol, your week, sir.
My week does not really consist of very much, I'm afraid. It was a relatively busy week at work, so I didn't have a huge amount of free time. And most of that free time got eaten alive by Nobu farming in FGO. So I'm continuing to plod through the third Guda Guda event, and I'm about 4/5 of the way through, desperately reaching for the end, which is just a haze of boss battles, more or less.
Which means the developers kind of gave up and just took the path of least resistance.
Well, this is essentially the epilogue. And the thing is that the epilogue is quite long. The initial story, like, it carries itself out more or less the same as a classic Singularity. The storyline hits most of those type of beats, and everything goes along, and then you complete the story, you beat the bad guy, you monologue at him as to why he was being a bad guy, and he disappears, and you have your tearful farewell with your new allies from the Singularity, and then everybody goes back to Chaldea, and story over. And I was like, oh well, that was novel. Good doesn't normally go like that, but then the epilogue happens, and another epilogue happens, and it becomes quickly quite clear that things haven't actually finished. And so you've cleared the main story, and then it turns out that that Cha-Cha is very, very upset to hear that you've been on an adventure, and her auntie Nobu has also been on an adventure with you, and you did all of this cool stuff, but nobody told her about it, and she was in the cafeteria getting ice cream and missed out on the whole thing. And she's very, very angry about this, and decides to remake herself into an Avenger class servant in order to get her terrible revenge for being left out.
Because that's apparently a thing she can do, I guess.
Yeah, Cha-Cha operates pretty much purely on willfulness. Like, her approach to life is more or less to throw a tantrum about something, and then some part of the world typically rearranges itself to accommodate that.
Oh, great.
So, and the thing is that she's very childish, but generally fairly good-natured for a berserker. She's got sort of like she's got a weird character archetype in that she has a generally she's a childish individual with a childish appearance, but has a sort of a motherly demeanor underlying it. So she's generally looking out for other people, but is still as selfish as a child.
Right.
And in this case, that manifests by her apparently just seizing control of the collapsing Singularity that the initial part of the story took place in, and remaking it as her army of Toyotomi soldiers in service to her, getting her terrible revenge against the world for leaving her out of another big adventure. And so basically you've got to go in there and try and reestablish order, because the hint, of course, is that you get back to Chaldea after you've said your goodbyes, and your allies in that Singularity have disappeared. Everybody returns home, and then immediately the counter guardians who were helping you out get summoned to Chaldea, because apparently they can't exit stage left yet because the crisis isn't actually over, on account of Cha-Cha maintaining the state of crisis because she's having a tantrum. But yeah, so the boss rush is basically you have to take out all of the bosses that are, typically speaking, they are characters who have featured in previous Guda Guda or other events related to it, that have been recruited by Cha-Cha and drafted into her army. and this includes such characters as Medusa, who every Gouda Gouda, she's annoyed at having been dragged into Gouda Gouda and is trying to get out of it. And at this point, when you run into her as a boss, she actually gives you tips on how to fight her and tells you to hurry up and beat her quickly so she can finally go home. Because she's just sick of getting hauled into Gouda Gouda events.
Just wants
it happens
nothing to
every
do
year.
with it.
She's basically had enough and wants out, and gives you a relatively easy boss battle as a result.
It's just
But,
like, oh no, I'm fighting, I'm resisting you.
Yeah, so there comes a point as things wind up where things start to go more typically, and the main characters are like, oh, now it all makes sense. It's finally starting to feel like Gouda Gouda.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they played it straight for the longest time, and they really had me going for a while there. And then the fourth wall shattered, and everything started to fall apart.
Hooray! Gouda Gouda is Gouda Gouda again.
No, yeah. So I just have to finish off the last part of that event. The Azure Lane event, focusing once more on the French contingent, has started up, and it's a large scale event involving a lot of grinding. But I haven't really devoted much time to the gameplay portion of it yet, because I've been focusing on butchering Nobus by the dozen.
But they're so murderable. There's so many of them, and they just kind of squeak and die.
They're pretty menacing initially in the story of this one, actually.
Like when you first completely ridiculous.
Well, you first encounter them running around the city murdering civilians in this event.
Okay, that's a bit less silly than usual.
Yeah, that's where the tonal whiplash came from.
Yeah.
From this Gouda Gouda. I was like, what is going on here? This isn't the way it normally goes.
Instead of, here is a mini Nobu with tank treads instead of legs. Why?
Because they can.
Because they can is basically about it.
Anyway, I think there's only 4 Gouda Gouda events in total, and so the next one will be the finale. That will tie up that mini storyline.
Nice.
But yeah, Fate type Red Line focuses primarily on the Imperial Capital Grail War type story. So this event that is running at the moment is pretty much the central focus of that event, of that storyline. But yeah, not much of that has been written yet, so I don't really know how it plays out. But yeah, so in Azure Lane, I have not done much of the gameplay, but I have been rather lucky with the gacha, in that I've gotten the 2 main super rare ships. Richelieu, the battleship, who is super, super powerful. Like, pulling her is sort of like pulling Merlin from the FGO gacha. Mm-hmm. If you're going to build a French-centric fleet, she will make that French-centric fleet from, passable to god-tier overpowered all by herself.
Wow.
Because she's one of the flagships, like Queen Elizabeth and like Nagato, in that she seriously buffs same faction ships.
Right.
And is generally in her own right also very powerful, because she's got a very strong barrage. But so I got her. In fact, I got 2 copies of her. And I also got Algeri, who is a heavy cruiser. Not a super exceptional heavy cruiser, but I would say a very good heavy cruiser. There also there are three welfare ships this time that you can get through just playing the event. One of which is La Glacière, who's not very good, usable but not great. And then there are 2 oddballs in the points shop, which are Bern, which is a light aircraft carrier, who seems to be a very strange light aircraft carrier, because you seem to be able to use her whichever way you want. Like, you can mount a gun on her instead of one of her plane slots, and sort of use her as a flagship if you want, which is unusual, because normally you can't use a carrier as a flagship because carriers don't have any guns, so they're not capable of defending against bioships, exploding suicide boats.
Right.
Aloha snack bar boats. So you don't want to use them as a flagship, because if there's too many of those, they'll just get obliterated. Whereas you normally will use like a battle cruiser or a battleship or something, because they can use their secondary guns to take out approaching suicide boats. But Byrne, for whatever reason, is the only light cruiser who can mount guns instead. And she gets buffs to that gun as well to make it much more powerful than it would be otherwise, to compensate for having carrier gunnery stats. Or alternatively, you can just fit her out like a normal light carrier, and she functions that way as well. I think she's a light carrier, not a full scale carrier. The other one, which is the ship that people are most looking forward to, is the light cruiser Jeanne d'Arc. A very odd ship, quite fragile in and of herself for a light cruiser with decent gunnery, but her real strength is that, and this is in quite poor taste if you ask me, when she's on fire, she gets humongous buffs.
What? Yeah, that's about as poor taste as it comes.
She has an ability that sets herself on fire, but also fire is a condition applied by high explosive ammunition from incoming fire. But when she's on fire, she basically gets humongous buffs that make her very powerful, and she also is very, very strong at protecting other ships in the Vanguard. So yeah, she's a very odd ship that has to be used in an odd way, ideally with healing support, like a repair ship or with support carrier or something, in order to make up for the fact that you're constantly losing health. But when she is on fire, your front line becomes very powerful. Your rest of your Vanguard becomes very tough, compensating for her fragility, and her firepower just goes through the roof. So, no pun intended. She's...
Yeah, ignore the unfortunate implications with that, I guess.
Yeah, not in great taste, but a very interesting and powerful ship, and one that has been like her character art has been in the game files for a very long time. It was one of those things everybody knew she existed, but nobody knew when she was going to show up, and so she's finally been added to the game and as a welfare so that everybody can have her, and so lots of people are very happy about that. The only other new ship is Vauquelin. I can't pronounce French names, but she's no good. Basically, she's not. Or rather, it's not so much that she's no good as that there are ships that are strictly better than her, and the only advantage she has is that she's a destroyer, and the only advantage that she has is that she gets buffs from Richelieu for being French. But there are other French destroyers that are just better for that slot. So there are very strongly suggested front lines now where you would use like Le Triomphant and Algerie and Jeanne d'Arc as your front line, and you'd have a very tough, very high firepower front line. So if you've got Richelieu backing her up. Yeah, so an interesting set of ships that very strongly suggest that they should be used together, sort of like tribal decks and Magic. Which is originally was more or less the purview of originally Royal Navy, because Royal Navy ships are actually kind of underpowered now because they were the first sort of tribal fleet type of setup where they had Queen Elizabeth, who gave such huge buffs to Royal Navy ships that most Royal Navy ships were a little bit underpowered to compensate for the fact that most people would use them with Queen Elizabeth. Then Nagato was introduced to the same sort of thing for the IJN fleet, and they were not underpowered to compensate for the existence of Nagato, but since most of their power was in torpedoes and paired carriers, it didn't do anything other than put them at the top of the meta. It didn't break the meta, and the only reason that Royal Navy caught up to that type of play was because of the introduction of the priority ship Monarch, who was very, very, very powerful at shelling. But then they released a similar type of set of ships for the Northern Parliament, which is the Russian equivalent in universe, and they've got a lot of synergies as well. But this is probably the strongest set of synergies that I've seen to date. So probably when you're building a French fleet, you're going to use mostly French ships from this event together, because they just synergize so strongly. I don't know whether or not it's enough to actually give them a strong place in the meta, the PvP meta, the way like Monarch has given a very strong place to Royal Navy along with Warspite in the the PvP meta, and like Nagato and twin carriers or Amagi and twin carriers are very common lineups to find in PvP as well for IJN. It'll be interesting to see whether people can do the same thing with the French fleets. It's possible they might, because Richelieu's buffs are just that strong, that really, really off the chain powerful. Like whether you decide to use the Iris Libre ships, which will get increased firepower, or the Viking Dominion ones, which will get massively increased defense, it's probably going to have some impact on the meta. I just don't know what it will be yet. Yeah, so it's an interesting scenario at the moment. But yeah, so I didn't have a huge amount of free time, so most of my time burned away on mobile games. I played a little bit of PSO2, not a huge amount. It hasn't deleted itself from my computer the way it has for Fern.
Again.
It appears to still work. But yeah, I get... The more I look at the class guides, the more confused and frustrated I tend to get.
Yeah.
Like, what I have found, since I'm like a purist bow braver, like the only thing I do for the most part is play bow braver. And it seems like nothing that I have learned to do on bow braver so far is even slightly relevant to how you're supposed to play one.
Sounds about right.
Because the entire class, because it's a top end, very focused single target DPS class, basically. And the entire class is focused around exploiting a damage window of a skill that I don't even have yet.
Oh.
Because it turns out that a lot of important class skills, they don't drop until later on. And so yeah, I've more or less got a rough. I've been playing pretty much what I would call an improvised approach, because nobody has ever really bothered to pass out how you should play a bow braver when you're leveling, because it's so irrelevant compared to what you'll be doing later on in the game. So it's a very much a situation where, to explain it in generalized terms, you will build up or you either will have to start with, or you will build up your PP, and then you will set up chase arrows, which I don't have because I don't have that skill, and then you'll set up your banishing arrow, and then use that damage window to dump as much DPS as you can possibly do into that gap. Just offload all of your PPP into the timer of your banishing arrow, and then detonate it with another ability or whatever. And that's how you do your damage. And then you switch over to rapid fire and use that to recharge your PP as quickly as possible. And then you open up a new damage window and dump damage into that. Right. Like, that's the way you're supposed to play. The thing is that none of that is possible, since chase arrow and banishing arrow are not even skills that I've ever seen before. So, so yeah. It also turns out that there are like crafted skills that you can make later.
Yep, and there's a few you have to probably buy from cubes as well.
The crafted skills, apparently there are crafted skills that have the same names as regular skills, except they've got like T0 after the name. Yeah. And it turns out that they change skills radically enough that there are some skills that are must-haves if you've got the crafted one, and are totally garbage. Don't even try to use them if you don't. So I've only got the ones that aren't crafted, because apparently skill crafting isn't in North American server yet. I think.
Maybe? I haven't seen it. I don't know.
But there's that many systems, it's hard to say.
Yeah, we got this game at a wonky. I don't think we got it at its launch version. I think we got some kind of wonky post launch version.
We do.
So it's there's just so much garbage to learn in that game, and it's all dumped at you in like the first 10 hours nonstop. It's like there's no way to parse what's in that game and what isn't.
Go away, Jan.
Go ahead. Go away. What?
Just go away, Jan.
Oh, yeah.
Him and his endless tutorializing.
Yeah, so I've just got through most of it, and I'm still not sure I'm done. I'm sure I missed some people.
I haven't done most of it yet. I haven't done the crafting and gathering stuff. I haven't done there's a bunch of stuff I haven't done. But yeah, so what I've often ended up doing, because when you don't have a proper damage window, it's very hard to set yourself up to do damage. And so what happens is that you tend to use Million Storm and Tunnel Vision things. Like, that's the thing is that that's a really, really terrible strategy that does about 30% of your potential damage output when you're at endgame. Like, it's the worst thing you can possibly do. But the thing is, it's an extremely PP efficient per damage ability, and you can't actually dump PP efficiently until you've got Banishing Arrow, is what it seems to be the case. So you get sort of convinced that, well, I mean, I've got this PP, I might as well spend it efficiently, and so I'll Million Storm, and it looks extremely cool, and you feel cool doing it, and what's more, it's very, very quick at chasing targets. Like, if you it will move with you as you move your target. So you tend not to miss things due to the fact you're not playing a hit scan class with Million Storm, because the arrows are so fast, and you just hose people down for huge amounts of damage, especially if you've got lots of enemies in that tunnel that you use Million Storm into. The thing is that because they spend levels upon levels training you that Million Storm is good, it's just like the skill ceiling is extremely high for Braver, but the skill floor is where Million Storm is.
Yeah.
And so the Western meme is like something Million Storm go brrr, but apparently in Japan, if you use Million Storm in public, you get referred to as a Million Man.
Oh, I see. It's that bad.
And that means a person who's never bothered to learn how to play their class. But yeah, the similar abilities exist for other classes, except that they tend to Million Storm tends to be very, very abused by Bravers who never learned to play Braver properly, because Braver is a hard class to maximize. Like, I've looked at these guides and they have everything that you do broken down into tiny fractions of a second, and infographics upon infographics showing the different orders that you can use skills in order to exploit your damage window to the best. It's like looking at a guide to playing Unholy Death Knight during Wrath of the Lich King.
I don't want to do that again.
Yeah, no thank you.
Or you could just press Million Storm and be a Million Man.
You could just be a Million Man and live with it.
I'm willing to bet we're not going to get to a level of in-game where we need to be anything higher than Million Man.
Certainly not. But what I will say is some of these guides are really, really well written. Like, they explain everything in great detail. There's, other than, being full of memes, they've got insert videos in the Google documents showing the different timings that you can use, the different ways to use skills, different methods of dodging. Like, whoever wrote these guides really loves this game and has put in a ridiculous amount of time.
So they're not GameFAQs text guide or a Wikia. We just kind of pasted a few things that look like infographics but actually make things more confusing.
For like every skill, they've got like built-in skill GIFs showing exactly how to execute on them and that sort of thing. So yeah, I was impressed with the community, at least. I mean, to be fair, they've been around an awful long time. But like, when they have a rotation that they explain, there will be a GIF showing that rotation in action and the way the numbers play out and what you should be doing and that sort of thing. So yeah. But yeah, I would like to put more time into it. I wish that I was a worthless YouTube celebrity with infinite time to muck around playing video games, but unfortunately I'm not. I've got to hold down a real job like a real person.
If you did that, then video games wouldn't be fun anymore.
There's also that.
I would need to also find a way to disengage from mobile games entirely, probably. But the urge to run on the waifu collector treadmill is very, very strong.
I mean, I can imagine your job actually has too many good opportunities. Like, I'm waiting for this meteor to distill. That's time for one quick battle.
Did you say meteor to distill?
Meteor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, well, I mean, you would think that, except that I just have way too much work to do that.
Yeah.
I'm racing the clock the entire day. Like you are in a permanent state of either desperately trying not to fall behind or trying desperately to catch up. There's not. It's not that simple, unfortunately.
Sadly,
Like, I don't
no.
get to. I never sit around and wait for anything anymore. In a research lab, you do a lot of sitting around waiting for things because you don't know what you need to do next until you get the results of the previous thing.
Mhm.
But in the case of commercial laboratory work, you are trying to gamble on what you will be doing next and get yourself prepared for things based on what you estimate the outcome will be, because losing time would be a disaster. So yeah, I don't have that sort of free time. Occasionally on a slow day where I can do work at a slightly more measured pace, I can, play Azure Lane a bit by playing it on auto, because most things on Azure Lane can be autoed if you've got a fleet set up to cope with it, which means usually a fleet that is slightly overpowers the content and is very durable, so it can deal with the fact that you're going to clear slowly because you won't be aiming anything and all of your torpedoes will miss forever. But yeah, most of the time I don't have that sort of space. I certainly don't have the sort of space to do FGO boss battles where pressing one button at the wrong time just gets you wiped. So
Yeah.
yeah, so I don't really have much else to talk about for my week. I haven't picked up any new anime. As we crawl our way toward the end of this season, nothing has really changed. It's still a bad season, generally speaking. I don't really know what's coming up next, but it had better be better than what we've got now.
It couldn't be much worse, admittedly.
Unfortunately, mostly what's being promoted is more ReZero, and I don't understand the appeal to begin with. So
yeah. I like
It was,
ReZero in Isekai Quartet, and that's about it.
It's okay. Ellipsis. I don't think it deserves as much praise or as much hate as the haters and the fans give it.
Well, the thing is, I think that haters and fans they exist the way they do because they do together. They're always going to push against each other.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like the reason, I think that part of the reason that people hate it so much is because of the fanaticism of the people that like it, and the people that defend it fanatically do so because of the haters.
That's a running thread pretty much every fandom.
Yeah, and anywhere where there's two teams.
Yeah.
the only thing more inexplicable than the popularity of ReZero is the popularity of Sword Art Online, which will also be going into the last part of its current current arc.
Remember that time Kirita turned into a Minotaur and ate a dude?
Yeah, they don't. Kirito certainly doesn't.
Well, at least next month I think there's going to be another season of Fire Force, which was at least okay to watch.
I liked Fire Force. It kind of went all over the place with what its setting was actually doing, but it was still a lot of fun.
Man, Animu has gone from I watch Animu season every season. Even if the Animus are bad, I'll watch most of a season. To I'll watch a few things a season. To I'll watch maybe something a season, poke around. To somebody's got to tell me something's good in the season that I talk to regularly, or I ain't touching it.
I've been rewatching some pretty bad stuff simply because I can't bring myself to watch the stuff that's new.
Yeah.
It's just over the last 10 years, I can track my Animu history, and it's just not been good.
Yeah, there's a few reasons for that. Part of it's just, being an adult, unfortunately. But there's also just so much per season now.
There's that.
No, the thing is that there's not anymore. That's the thing. The COOF has completely strangulated it. So we've gone from having a seasons that are so full that you don't have time to watch everything in there, but due to sheer numbers, at least some of them will be worthwhile, to very small seasons where they've only got a few titles, and the only things that people are willing to make are either the trash that can't get in any other time or stuff that's surefire because it's already got an existing following.
Yeah, and it's also just we've seen the Animu tropes now. It's not a new novel submedium within TV.
Yeah, let me see.
So it's hard to catch our eye as much as like it harder than it used to be. Anyway,
I don't think it is for me. Like, I'm perfectly happy with comfort food anime, but it has to reach a certain minimum level of quality. And that for me, that bar is not high. Like, I totally enjoyed Black Clover, and it is as utterly derivative as anything that's ever been made.
It's shonen, and it's unashamedly shonen.
Yeah, they know where to use the budget, and they use it in the right places.
Yes.
So it's all good. But
Also, us is screaming.
yeah, it's a lot of stuff is just the isekai harem stuff is the biggest problem, and I'm usually okay watching that stuff, but
it's been a long running like little.
it's not due to that to me. It's just that I feel like the quality is actually decreasing. I don't think that it's me getting tired of it. I think that the quality is decreasing. They're phoning it in more and more. They can get away with trading on the trope more and more. And they think that, oh, well, we don't need to put in much effort. We can just use any old light novel trash. We just fish one out at random and adapt it.
People will watch this because waifus. But, yeah. So, yeah, I'm just having a quick flick at the what's coming up on next season, and it's tiny.
Yeah, there's just not much. The Kufa's completely overturned schedules.
Yeah.
And it's going to probably be like 12 months before people are back on track. Because generally speaking, an anime is constantly rushing against falling behind on schedule as it is. And now they've got all these other problems that are impeding it.
Oh, folks, never let the Kami Koof get you again.
Yeah.
Let's just get the world back on track, shall we?
Better news, my Blu-ray copy of the second Heaven's Feel movie has arrived, and I haven't had time to watch it.
It's probably for the best. That way you don't need to cry.
Well, the second one, like, I don't think it's really sad. It's a bit salacious because, well, it's at that center part of the story where
there are many mollusks.
Yeah, mollusks happen.
Mollusks.
Although they do those scenes in a comparatively tasteful fashion,
which is a step up from the visual novel.
Yeah,
it was pretty good when I finally got around to watching it.
But I thought it was unbelievably thrilling to watch in the cinema. The action scenes were great. It was Ufotable at their best.
Yes.
So yeah, that was that. I'm looking forward to watching it, but I have to be sort of in the right mood for that, especially since there's no end to it yet. So there's entirely possible I won't get around to watching any of the Blu-rays until the third one is on Blu-ray as well, so that I can watch them all in a stretch. But yeah, I'm really glad I saw it in the cinema though, because on the big screen it's just spectacular. But you know, cinemas are all going to die now, so I guess I won't get to see the third one on the cinema.
Admittedly, cinemas were on their way out before any of this all started happening.
It's true.
But there is still something to be said for going to the cinema. It's still an experience you can't get at home.
Well, it's because it turns it into an event.
Yeah,
basically, as opposed to
it becomes
just
an occasion.
Oh, wow.
It turns specifically into an event where Netflix and chill can't happen, and you're dedicated to the event you're attending. And I'm speaking of this in a specific context of dating people, because this is where most people go to the movies.
Right.
At least in my experience. When you're at the movies, you're there to be at the movies with somebody and enjoy something. When you're at home watching a movie, you aren't going to be watching the movie for long.
Depends on the movie.
No, you're not going to be watching the movie for long. This is just the way humans work in today's modern culture. I'm not giving a one way or the other whether it's good or bad on this, but I'm just giving people a heads up. You're going to be losing an experience of going to the movies, and you might miss that. And you might want to try and find a way to preserve it.
Anyway.
That was a side tangent. That was something that I've noticed that's been bugging me for a while and didn't know where to stick it in.
It was a disintegrating remnants of my week. I guess I'm holding out for the fourth quarter season for the next Log Horizon. But yeah, the year's just not looking very good. Hopefully the next Fate movie will come out and save me. Since there's Heaven's Feel and the first chapter of Camelot Singularity to come.
And the Gem and Spamalot.
That's full well that singularity is nowhere near that silly. At
I
least
know.
not for any particular length of time.
Not
There-
as silly as it
you-
really should be.
You do go surfing on a rooftop
It's true.
through the air at a bajillion miles an hour.
Everyone loves Arashi Alliance.
All right. I think we should take a break.
We probably should.
All right,
All right.
here's some music because I've got to pee really badly.
All right. We'll play some music. Back in a moment.
And we're back.
Yes, which, now that I remember, should have honestly been our E3 show.
This one?
This one.
Yeah, but there's no E3, so
There is no E3.
And
even if
honestly,
there had been an E3, it was looking to be somewhat reduced.
yeah.
That's to put it nicely, yes.
And what we do have to talk about is getting into the really nitty gritty of it isn't really necessary aside from the console and hardware stuff.
So, yeah, we'll come to that in a moment. Your week, sir.
So last week, I think it was last week, my sense of time and when I do things gets harder and harder to track.
Mm-hmm.
So last week I finished Half-Life Alyx. This week I decided to just be stupid and 100% Half-Life Alyx.
Because you're a madman. We've already established that.
Yeah. So I was looking through the Chivo list and it all looked fairly sane. Except for one Chivo.
The
Which made me-
Chivo.
The Chivo. Which just made me kind of tilt my head a little bit. I'm like, that's really odd. That Chivo. It
Honestly-
just says...
Oh.
Okay.
I would have been more surprised if it wasn't there, honestly, but carry on.
Yeah, I remember this Chivo has been a thing with Half-Life after I saw what it was. But most of them were fairly sane. Like in the level Jeff, you have to do things to Jeff to screw around with him. You have to like stand next to him while holding your mouse so you don't cough and make him keep spinning in a circle for like 10 seconds.
Poor Jeff.
You have to mess around with Jeff. You have to kill Jeff by squishing him. You have to let Jeff live and not kill him at the end of the level. There's a whole lot of Chivos around Jeff. There's the obligatory, you get these Chivos just for finishing the level. There's stuff for doing certain things at certain points, like sticking a Geiger counter inside in Russell's face while he's trying to explain stuff to you. I don't understand why that's an achievement, but it is.
This is making it sound like instead of, the Alex Vance we all grew to love in Half-Life 2, this Alex is kind of some sort of sociopath.
The achievement name is called Eye of the Geiger.
Duh! The puns.
So there's that one. Then there's doing a whole bunch of other miscellaneous garbage like that. Feed the Snark. You got like pet food you can feed your pet Snark.
What's a snack?
What is a Snark?
It's a little beetle thing that runs up to people and explodes.
Right.
Why would you keep one of those around?
She keeps it in a jar. I think it was in Half-Life 2.
Maybe?
But you have to feed the Snark. You have to play with some of the toys that are more hidden, stuff like that. So then we have the Chivo. That is the only one that matters because it's the one that's going to eat up literally all your time in this game. And that is escorting Chomsky from just after you get the grab right at the beginning of the game all the way to the end of the game. Now, Chomsky can't be put in your wrist pockets or anything. You have to carry that dude. And he's just a lawn gnome.
Yep.
And thankfully, he's indestructible. But there's apparently a bug where if he takes a bullet shot in a very specific place on his buttocks, he will be marked as a separate object and not count for the Chivo.
That doesn't sound like a bug.
So you have to hold Chomsky by his butt whenever you're in a firefight just to be safe.
What if one of those roof things eats it?
I don't actually know. The barnacles kept grabbing him, and that does happen all the time. This is a VR game, and if you're trying to weave your way around the barnacles because you don't want to waste ammo killing them, or you're in a low ammo count area, Chomsky will just go for a ride and you have to listen for the rump, rump, rump. If you weren't paying real close attention to where your Chomsky hand was while you were trying to weave and squeeze between these guys.
If I remember from the previous Half-Life games, the barnacles will just chew on it.
They probably will spit it out, but every time that happened, I panicked, got the shotgun out, jumped up as high as I could in real life, because it's a VR game, and shot that thing in like twice. And shotgun shells are super valuable. Well, it takes Chomsky a while to make it to the barnacle, so I'm just shooting the barnacle.
Yeah.
You hear the runt, 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 and then you're like, oh no, where'd Chomsky go? So I attempted to find a way to alleviate this using an idea I had in an earlier level, where the level is just covered in grenades. And so you can't carry all these grenades. You have 2 wrist pockets, and if you have the most expensive shotgun upgrade, you can attach 1 extra grenade to the end of your shotgun. But how you carry health recovery items. So you may or may not want to use them for this. So what I wound up doing and tried this, and it didn't work very well. and I'll tell you why in a second. But you get a bucket of some description, and you can fill it with junk and carry it around. This works fine in the level where there's too many grenades to carry, and this might have actually been an intentional design part of that level.
What, you walk out the door with a bucket full of grenades?
Yeah, you can just totally explore the level with a bucket full of grenades. And you just have unlimited grenades for the rest of the level. Or as long as you can hang on to that bucket, because it transitions between load zones as long as you're holding on to it.
Right.
And that's the whole point with Chomsky. So you can do that with Chomsky for a while until you get to a level where you have to crouch and stand up. A lot.
Oh, no.
Any level that requires a lot of crouching and standing up, the bucket doesn't quite have good... None of the buckets that I tested had great detection for where its bottom was if you rise vertically or descend vertically too quickly. Like, stuff will just literally spring out of the bucket like there's a spring at the bottom of it all of a sudden if you crouch down too fast or stand up too fast. And your grenades and your gnome will just confetti all over the place.
I'm getting flashbacks of Viscera cleanup detail.
So
bullet casings everywhere.
Yeah. So this involved me basically sitting in a level trying to fix this problem by getting everything that even resembled a container. I got a colander, I got a pot, I got a crock pot, I got a regular bucket, I got a wood bucket, I got a plastic bucket, I got a bucket, all types with and without handles. And this went on. Anything that could hold junk, I tried to get it and test this out. None of it worked. It was confetti land everywhere, all day, every day.
Right.
So the game just cannot handle you rising too quickly or crouching too quickly. Now, you can slowly crouch down and get up and down and stuff, but that's not very efficient. And also, if you're carrying the bucket and you have to quickly duck down to dodge somebody with a gun, what's going to happen is you're going to lose all your junk and it's going to go flying all over the place. Because you have to physically move to dodge gunfire.
Mm-hmm.
So, Chomsky just stays in your hand. That's the easiest way to get him to the end of the game. And whatever you do, if you do the bucket strategy, do not use the automated crouch and stand feature. You can set it so that if you're playing standing, when you hit the toggle state button, you will crouch and then stand back up. Or if you're sitting in a chair playing, which the game does not recommend you do, and I don't either, because you will just get shot to death all the diddly dang time. Because you cannot actively hide behind cover very well. You can set it so you stand when you press the alter state button and then go back to your crouch position when you unalter your state. So that's a thing. Don't do that. That makes the usual confetti effect happen 20 times over.
Good times.
Yeah. And also grenades, if shot when you do this, will explode. So if the enemy is firing at you and your stuff confetti's everywhere, and they happen to nick one of your grenades as it confetti's out, it's going to explode, and so are all the other ones that are also confettiing all around you. This is a free trip back to the load screen. You don't want that to happen. So you just gotta hold Chomsky. So you thankfully can put him down. You don't have to hang on to him literally the entire game. But you can't get too far from him or he'll despawn. You can't go through a load zone or he'll despawn. He has to be within, I think, 6 or 7 feet of you when you go through a load zone for him to count. Might be even less. Or just in your hand, which is the safest place. But yeah, that's a pain in the butt. And my hand was cramping. But I got him there. I got him all the way to the end of that video game. And it only takes about 5 hours on a replay. It takes about 15 hours to beat the game. If you're just exploring it and seriously trying to experience the VR world. And that's the whole point of playing Half-Life Alyx in this day and age. Like, VR is still new. Everything is still fun, and there's all kinds of physics to play with, and all kinds of stuff in the environment they've set up just to be toys. There's fully functional pianos that I played Mary Had a Little Lamb on, and it totally worked. So yeah, you can totally do that. But
But yeah, it's other than the Chomsky Chivo, it was relatively fun going back and playing with the rest of the toys and seeing what kind of creative challenges they came up with to have you get the Chivos. You have to like catch somebody throws a magazine to you at one of the levels, and you have to lock onto it with your grenade, or not with your grenade, with your gravity gloves, yank it to you and snatch it out of the air and slap it in your gun within half a second.
Just because that's badass.
Yeah, just because that's really cool.
Are you able to like just straight up beat people to death by throwing crap at them?
If the thing is heavy enough, they're not going to care if you chuck like bricks at them or something. But if you pick up a barrel and drop it on their head, they'll die. I mean, I haven't tried to club somebody over the head with a barrel yet. Generally, that's ill-advised because Alex doesn't have a HEV suit, so she doesn't have armor. She just has health.
Yeah.
So if you get too close to somebody with a shotgun, you're just gonna die.
She was a fairly normal person last time we saw her. Yeah, now you've turned her into a sociopath. Great.
Yeah, it is quite fun dropping giant barrels on people. This does take two hands, though, and their buddy does notice that his friend suddenly died because he got squashed by a barrel and will start shooting you immediately.
That is the sort of thing that's hard to miss.
So you need to make sure your guns are prepped ahead of time, because it takes two hands to carry them big old barrels, as Alex. She's like a 19-year-old girl.
Yeah.
And the gravity gloves can't lift them, not easily anyway. They can assist you, but they're not going to get it all the way there. You need two hands. So you can do that. She has, mostly though, you're going to be shooting crap. So you got to ration your ammo, but it's not super de-duper hard to find ammo. As long as you're not just the worst shot in the world, you'll be okay.
All right.
I did find a fix for Oculus headsets for the stutter problem that I was experiencing throughout the game. Like, if you ran the game for a little bit and you went through enough loading screens, you'd get a little bit of desyncy stuff going on and you'd start stuttering.
Mm-hmm.
And you would have to reset the headset and all that every, like, 5 or 6 loading screens. That was really obnoxious, but there's actually a pretty easy fix for it. You just go into your control panel and you set Half-Life Alyx and whatever Steam calls its web VR thing to run as high priority. Because for some reason, those don't default to high priority by default. And because Windows 10 won't let you lock priorities anymore, you got to do it every time, but it takes all of 3 seconds.
So annoying.
Yeah, so the fix ain't that bad. Although, seriously, Valve, look into that.
Yeah, that's a thing that should not be an issue.
Forgetting stutter in VR, by the way, makes you sick.
Yes.
It's bad.
As soon as you lose the one-to-one motion, then you're off to puke town.
Yeah, and also the game doesn't quite know where you are, so that can cause some interesting effects with the floor. Alex's head you'll be stuck because you can't move through the floor, and you'll just be Alex's head, and her hands will be below the floor. This happens.
That's a problem.
Or your hand will get stuck fused with the door.
That doesn't sound pleasant at all.
No.
The only way to unfuse it is to walk it far enough away from the door with your feet to have your hand go skyrocketing across the level and then magically retract and reappear on your hand where it's supposed to be.
What?
Yeah, that happens. This is why
this physics engine.
So this only happens when the stutter's going on, though. If the stutter's not going on, that bug doesn't happen.
Right.
Unless you were absolutely hugging the door maybe when you opened it and tried to open it through yourself, maybe, then it would do that. But I didn't ever encounter the issue after I fixed the stutter bug.
Yeah.
But fixing the stutter bug, the game looked incredible and played incredible the whole way through. And just being able to go through that environment in an environment that's set up to be a freaking proper video game and find creative ways to make cover for yourself. Because you can't just glue yourself to a wall in Half-Life Alyx. You've got to make the cover and figure out a way to effectively use it and make holes for you to shoot through. Or ways for you to peek around the corner without getting shot. You've got to position this cover appropriately.
But my chest-high walls.
There are plenty of those. If you like actually being in a crouched chest-high position, go for it. Do you have any idea how uncomfortable that is? Because I do. It is not. It is not fun times. So, I'm not. I'll go stack up some barrels if I know a combat encounter's coming. Because you're probably going to die on most combat encounters that are the big combat encounters, even though it's only 3 or 4 dudes. Even if you're a fairly decent shot. Because these guys hit like trucks, even on normal. Mostly the Combine soldiers, the Zen type enemies in the area mostly act as not so much enemy encounters as obstacles. It's the Combine people you really got to worry about, because they'll just shred your health bar. There's like a and that you only ever encounter 3 or 4 of them at a time, but you can fight 3 or 4 of them at a time in sequence, and they take a lot of shots to take down. Them some beefy mofos.
All right.
But I definitely recommend it. It is close to a killer app for VR. It's very close. I don't think it's quite there yet because of how expensive VR is, especially PC VR. But it's dang close. We're getting there.
Nice.
So, yeah, that's Half-Life Alyx. I literally spent the rest of my week making fun of the Chaz.
I mean, if nothing else, it's an interesting social experiment.
It is the single funniest thing I've ever seen happen in real life.
Oh, no.
I cannot think of anything funnier. So, for those that don't know,
Oh, dear.
because I'm going to tell everybody about this, screw it. The Chaz is the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone in Seattle, run by a bunch of dumb kids who thought that they didn't need no government and no police anymore. Now, okay, you want to be anarcho-communist, dang sense to begin with. Those two ideologies kind of go against each other. But okay, sure. Let's see what you got. I think the best place to start is their farm.
No, I hear a homeless person moved into it, so the crops have been destroyed.
Well,
Yeah, well,
it
they were
looked
dying before then.
Yeah, it looked like what they'd planted was just some randomly placed, possibly food plants that they dug out of someone's window.
Well, it looks like they just poured a bunch of topsoil onto the grass and then put some pot plants on top of it.
Oh, no, they put it on top of cardboard. So, yeah, you've got the layer of natural dirt, the layer of natural grass, then cardboard, then the topsoil. I don't know why.
I wonder if this is the reason why Gatorade was on the list of things that they needed for their so-called autonomous zone. Because everybody knows that plants need electrolytes.
Go watch Idiocracy, folks. It's a great movie and terrifying.
Oh, I posted a bunch of pictures in the live show chat for y'all to use.
It's not a great movie. It's a work of prophecy.
Yeah.
So, first, the homeless people that they invited in, because obviously the homeless people are all just disenfranchised by the government, and it's in no way their fault, stole all their food.
Yeah.
So, their first solution to this was just use all the food that's left. Well, they already burned all the places that had any food left during the riots. So, I guess we're just going to have to start our own farm. So they start the aforementioned garden, not even garden, that is a bunch of topsoil on cardboard. And they did eventually take the plants out of the planter boxes, but it took them a while. But they're still sitting on top of a thin layer of cardboard.
You're laughing something horrible too.
Oh, am I? I'll try and correct that.
I think that it might be the server. I've been noticing some yellow bars now and again.
Yeah, every now and again, Discord servers just wig out for no reason.
Yeah, I still have good connection everywhere. Yeah. So then they ran out of water. And then the plants started dying in less than a day because it's the middle of summer.
I know that before the Chaz became the area now known as the Chaz became an anarcho-communist commune. I don't think that there were any shortages of food or water, but funnily enough, all of a sudden,
it's almost like we could have seen it coming. So then they decided to ration out Sprite in bags because they ran out of water.
Who would be mad enough to drink a drink that they didn't open themselves? My goodness.
Especially in this zone. But okay, they're doing that. So this leads me to my theory: they used the Sprite to water the crops, and this is why they all died.
Yeah, because everybody knows Sprite doesn't have what plants crave.
I don't think it has any electrolytes in it, obviously. So while this is going on, and you cannot make this crap up, a guy, after the initial leader got outed as a abusive trans lesbian girl, and she threatened to commit suicide, the place was taken over by a new leader. There's a new big dog in town, Raz, leader of the Chaz, who's got his name on a big gold chain in case he forgets it.
Who, let's be fair, he took over because he's an armed thug with a gang of armed thugs.
Yeah, the guy somehow, through his totally legitimate Airbnb franchise, has managed to procure enough funds for weapons. His day occupation is amateur rapper, with him known to be going around to completely random places and handing out mixtapes. This is their leader. So,
what year does he think it is? 1990?
Apparently. And so, the Raz first policy, put up a wall. Build the wall. So, Raz built the wall. Good to know the anarcho-communists are right on board with Trump's policies. And then he implemented stop and frisk, because you can't have no more guns coming in the anarcho-communist zone. It's got to be only Raz who has them.
Oh, he declared himself the police as well.
Yes, he also declared himself the new police. And then he implemented ID. You can't get into the Chaz without ID.
This sounds an awful lot like evil Republican policy to me.
It sounds to me like they should all have Chaz's or Raz's head on a pike.
Well, I mean, last I heard they were trying to deplatform him for homophobic comments.
Yeah, but he has the guns, and they're all a bunch of whiny kids. And this has been their problem. So, it continues. The farm then tried to get a cow. Last I heard, that got held up before it could get anywhere near the Chaz by Seattle police. They thought a singular cow would go good for their farm.
Where would they get a cow from? In the middle of Seattle?
They were trying to ship it to Seattle from outside the Chaz, presumably from a farm that supports this thing. I would send them a cow if I had a cow. I just want to see this get stupider.
I thought that was animal exploitation.
Maybe. The cow got held up, apparently.
Is it from a farm that supports this sort of thing, or did they just nick a random cow from somewhere?
There's not much information on the cow. The cow was inbound and got held up, and that's all we know. So, and then...
I wouldn't feel compelled to ask, but do you mean held up as in it didn't arrive on time, or do you mean held up as in somebody held it at gunpoint?
Yeah, probably people in the actual government held it up because they didn't know why a random cow was being shipped to a currently, militarized part of the city. That's what I think anyway. I don't have hard news on how it got held up or what. Just the cow could not make it to the Chaz, unfortunately.
Okay, carry on.
So then, because Raz and his evil, crazy policies had apparently somebody wasn't a big fan of it, so they decided to try and set up an autonomous zone within the autonomous zone.
You can't make this up.
You can't make this up.
I'm pretty sure at some point Raz released a statement claiming that he was not in fact a warlord. He just, looks and acts exactly like one.
He did. I do not have it on hand, but it exists. And then we had these last two gems I'll leave you with in live show chat. First is their attempt to solve the food problem, because now people are actually starving, and as we know, shoes are made from cows and thus not vegan, so they can't eat their own shoes. So, so they received a $100,000 donation for a mobile food truck that will come in and give them food.
Yeah,
and their Discord chimped out over this because that's capitalism.
They do know that food trucks don't actually, spontaneously manifest food, right? That you need food to put food into the food truck so that the truck can take it places.
Yes.
Yeah. So, but that's capitalism. I posted the snapshot of the discussion on the live show chat. And the Chaz, quick, very brief rundown of Chaz history here.
They tried to set up a government.
Chaz, hang on, back up. Chaz history.
It's not going to be a very long history. It's enough to fill a leaflet. And it's a
very funny leaflet.
The funniest leaflet. So first, they can't have no white people run in their city or their country, I guess. So the council would be one black man, one black woman, one trans black person, one non-binary black person. And it originally was going to have one white woman on the council, but she got cut. Because white people are just no. They're just evil. Upon more feedback, they decided to add one Asian non-male. They've changed it. One Native American non-male and one Latinx, because Spanish is a gendered language and that makes Spanish sexist or something. Latinx non-male, and then 4 additional black men and women to balance it out.
Balance it out.
So we're at 11 people. And then we've received some feedback about disabled persons, mental and physical, and the homeless persons on the council. 20% or 40% of the council should be persons with lived experience of disability. At least 10% should have experienced involuntary homelessness. And then they needed to add some gay people to it. So they upped their representation from the 1 or 2 they add there to 10 to 50% of the alphabet people. And then they're like, what about the disadvantaged alphabet people and the children? So they added 3 more seats. 2 for alphabet people, black non-disabled person. 1 for an alphabet people, black homeless person. And 1 for a non-white or mixed-race child between the ages of 8 and 15. You may think I'm pulling your leg, and that this all is not very possibly something that happened. I got pictures in the live show chat. And this has been my week, is just seeing what new stuff the Chaz can do. And I only touched it. This is only the big stuff that happened. There are tiny little incidents all over the Chaz that are just as funny, but not dealing directly with the Chaz itself.
I'm upset about this. I feel like they're going to put Babylon Bee out of business.
You can't make this up. You can't go any lower than this. This is peak funny. This is the stereotype. This is
How
the thing.
will we do parody of communists anymore?
I don't want to hear a single communist ever accuse us of making a straw man. Ever again.
No, they will.
Ever. Well, they have no ground to stand on. Because all I'll have to say is the Chaz. So, if there's finally something good came out of a bunch of idiots burning down our cities. And it's how stupid the Chaz is. And the Chaz has the mayor's blessing, by the way, to exist as its own autonomous state. The mayor won't do anything. The governor is pretending he doesn't know about it. Never mind
And
that
before not real communism.
Yeah. Never mind that this is just the only thing the internet's talking about, because it is literally the funniest stuff in the world. But if you've been living under a rock, that's your history of the Chaz. And I have had so much fun this week talking to anybody that'll hear me squawk about the Chaz.
In their defense, I don't think there've been any murders yet.
Yeah.
Only, extortion, robbery, and rape.
A whole lot of rape, by all accounts. Like 2.5 times the normal number from that area when adjusted by the current Chaz population, whatever the heck that is.
So, not as bad as Sweden yet.
No, but we've reached, what they think a college is like.
Wow.
No, a college is worse than Fallujah.
We'll
according
get
to
there.
the stats.
You gotta keep the faith, man. They'll get there eventually. That was horrible.
Yeah,
But,
yeah, that was awful.
But it's the Chaz. And so I literally don't care what happens to these people. They are just here for my entertainment at this point. These are the same people that made me lose a $16,000 job by burning down my cities. I don't give a crap about them. They are now my entertainment, and I'm going to get something back from them, dang it. You can call me whatever name you want for that opinion.
You're an
I will happily wear whatever badge you want to give me, because I'm sick of this.
Someone
And
needs to set up like a GoFundMe for a bunch of camera-equipped drones to go and make the reality TV show The Chaz.
Oh, they tried.
Yeah, they'll shoot them down
Supposedly
and eat them,
drone-
probably.
Yes, some drones have apparently tried to infiltrate the Chaz and been shot down.
By the guns that they don't have.
Yeah, by the guns.
Common sense gun control. They'll be shot down by common sense gun control.
Yeah, they're throwing any media out that they can find. There's still a few people that are undercover. And hats off to those guys bringing us all this wonderful, wonderful stories and news. But, yeah, they're doing their best. The Chaz under wraps because they know the second we look at them, we're just going to make fun of them nonstop. And to be fair, they're right. But y'all just dumb people if you think you know how to run an autonomous... They did it in the middle of Seattle! That place dies in the winter. It becomes freezing cold. Let's play pretend and say the Chaz continue to exist. In winter, the place dies. You can't grow anything in Washington in the winter. It's just not going to happen.
Too cold.
And they don't have any method of... They're in the wrong season. It's the middle of summer. They can't start growing now and have that stuff ready to stockpile for a fall harvest.
I don't think that it's relevant to make that statement since none of them know how to grow a plant.
That's the other thing.
Even keep a windowsill cactus alive.
That's true. But even if they could, they're in the middle of Seattle. They have like one park that they've annexed. They got nowhere to grow anything. They have no running water. They can't drill a well in the middle of Seattle. They'll hit the sewer.
I'd like to see them try to drink
They'll
that.
probably think that they've hit water and start drinking it.
I mean, technically they have.
Yeah, I mean it's used already.
It's second-hand water.
And that's assuming
It's
they
liquid.
It's liquidy. But that's these people are just really dumb. Oh.
In a fair world, they would have been cut off from the grid as well.
Yeah, but I'm kind of glad they weren't.
So that we can continue
Hang
to
on.
get all of this delicious information.
In that case, how did they run out of water?
They only have tap water, but the tap water supply that goes into there is limited. You have a water reservoir in areas like a big city, and there's a limit on how much one area can draw per day before it starts getting throttled.
Mhm.
That's automatic in most water towers. So they're limited to the tap water they have per day, and while that may be enough to keep everybody hydrated there, it's not enough to do anything else with.
To do inner city irrigation.
Yeah, you can't water your plants, you can't take showers or anything like that. Not that I think these people care about showers. But, yeah. If you want more information on the Chaz, the best stories you'll find with just people posting raw data are either on the Donald or the farms. But you can find it scattered around the normal news sources, too, if you really want to go digging.
The
Well,
normal
you have to,
news
because some of us can't go to the farms
Yeah.
because we live in a police state.
VPN, sir, VPN.
Well, even then, I think his from what I've seen of his prime minister, she might care that they're using a VPN at all anyway, and come down on his head if she sees that
They
VPN.
have actually, I think, I can't remember exactly, I think I heard a rumor about them floating legislation to make VPNs illegal or something like that.
Yeah, that's not.
Not that they have any way of enforcing it, but
Yeah.
they don't want anybody being able to get around there, because they see China as the model, basically, as far as internet goes.
Ew. Oh.
Yeah, so
The reason why I don't want to stay here to see how things wind up in the end, like, it's not good.
I would invite you to come over, but we've closed our borders because the world has gone nuts.
And everything is kind of on fire at the moment.
If I had it on hand, I would leave y'all with a picture of their requests for food on Twitter and their more recent list of supplies they're asking people in the much more successful capitalist area of the world to donate. But I don't have them on hand.
I need to.
Including Gatorade.
I'd like to see their finalized demand list. You know, when they stop arguing about it.
Oh, they got it. It was given to Medium.com. and I would love to spend a show going through it, but it's 32 items and it would take literally the whole show. And it's also self-contradictory. Drexel and Nick Rekieta did a really good go-through of it, where it's really funny and they make fun of it. But
Okay. That's great.
Wasn't that the one where they first demand that they want to abolish the legal system and then they demand retrials?
yeah,
Yeah.
they want to abolish the police and the legal system, and then they want retrials for all criminals, and they also want investigations reopened into like every identitarian group you can imagine that has had any sentence dealt on them ever.
Oh dear.
Yeah, they're a total joke, but they were serious when they sent them, apparently. And they published it to Medium.com. Oh, this is wonderful.
All right. So that's silliness aside. What happened in the video game industry, which is actually what our show is supposed to be about?
Well,
Nothing.
we had we had something happen, but
Yeah.
it wasn't nothing too terribly super de-duper hype to talk about, I think, as usual.
Well, I mean, the purpose is hype, so hype will happen.
But they failed.
But
Yeah.
I mean, well, there. Look at it like this: there are things happen this week that I am not necessarily hyped for, but there are people that are hyped for. Like a simple and small example is the imminent arrival of the Persona franchise on PC.
Yes. Persona 4 being put onto Steam. Persona 4 Royal, particularly. Sorry.
Golden.
Persona 4
Golden.
Golden.
Golden. Yep.
Not
So-
that that's any more meaningful than Royal.
No, it's not.
No, Royal actually did a lot than Golden did, but at least it's hard to tell with Golden with the system mechanics in it because it'd been so long since I played the original Persona 4
Fair enough.
from when I played Golden. So, but yeah, people can finally play Golden or replay Persona 5 or Persona 4 if they haven't played it in forever,
More
which
so
is
enough.
probably a whole lot of people. But yeah, also Golden was kind of relegated to the Vita, which while I liked the Vita, nobody had one
Nobody bought one because there was maybe 3 games on it.
at
Well,
launch. Yeah.
I saw people saying that they can now throw their Vita in the bin because Persona 4 is coming out on
Persona
PC.
4's like, you don't need it anymore. Oh dear.
So yeah, you can buy it on Steam right now.
Yeah, go do it. If you haven't played Persona 4, and yeah, go do it. It's a good game.
I mean, yeah. So
Alright.
that's,
It's one of those few instances where the anime was actually kind of good as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
once they realized where they had to go with it.
Yeah,
then
you mean,
got really good.
yeah, you mean just make Charlie the most funny straight man of all time?
Pick all the bad options in the conversations. Yes.
They
That's
picked all the funny options. They
Yeah.
they picked all the correct options
Yes.
in the dialogue choices.
And then made Charlie completely deadpan the entire lot.
This is exactly how I imagined he was in game, and I was not disappointed.
It's great.
He is the king.
All right.
Oh, Charlie.
So yeah, go do that. That's great. I suppose we got to the only E3 announcements at this point. There was going to be a whole bunch of them, but they all got delayed because of the riots. So we
No,
got
they
the
got
Sony
delayed.
one.
They got delayed by WooFlu first, and then they got outright canceled because of the riots and had to just kind of trickle out.
Yeah. So well, instead of having one big block of gaming news, we're going to go get a half-hearted dribble. So we got our first look at what the actual Persona 5, yay, the PlayStation 5 looks like. It's a space taco.
It's a Wi-Fi router.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, I've seen a lot of waifu art of it actually.
wait, waifu? Wait, well, waifu art probably already does exist, actually. Why am I surprised?
It's a Wi-Fi. I meant Wi-Fi router, but okay, waifu art is good too.
We'll go with waifu art because, hang on.
Okay.
Let me see.
We'll call,
Where is it?
I think we can call it the waifu router. I think that works for a Sony device.
Let's see. I will ask the internet. Yeah, there it is. Actually,
Why did you ask?
That was a dangerous thing to search for.
I kept
Yeah,
it
but-
simple. I kept it to Google Images. The leading actually kind of looks like Purple Heart. So there you go. Neptune has crossed franchise. So anyway,
I see. We have the PS5 now.
we have a PS5, and it is equally unfriendly to fitting in a entertainment unit.
I am.
I'm not really that impressed.
I am not. I'm not going to hold any my full judgment. My initial reaction is not good, but anytime a new console comes out, my reaction is that's not a good design.
Yeah.
Oftentimes it's because it's not a good design. Just because people eventually end up tolerating it doesn't mean it's good.
Yeah, like this design, admittedly the design is nice, it's all sleek and all that, but it's impractical.
Where am I supposed to put it?
Exactly.
How much do the fins allow for laying on the side?
Probably none
They
at all.
don't.
They don't.
They're going to sell a stand, from what I heard.
Yeah, by the look of it, those it's actually convex on both sides, or sorry, concave. So
And it's got a tumor on one of them.
yeah, it's convex if you get the DVD drive version.
Yeah, this picture's really small. I need a
Yeah,
better
it
one.
is. So yeah, it's only going to be able to stand on its stand.
So yeah, and
yeah.
get one with a disk drive, folks. I guarantee you, one day you're gonna want the ability to play your favorite games, at least that you were hyped enough for to get the physical copy of, on your PS5. And after Sony's long gone out of business because they did something stupid in the future and doesn't have the service to download the game anymore, you're gonna want to be able to just pop your disc in and play.
I also hear that this console is ginormous.
Well,
Like,
it matches the other ginormous one as well.
No, it doesn't match it. It's much taller.
Oh dear.
Like it's like the size of a small computer, a small
dear.
PC case. It's giant. It's not
Yeah.
quite as wide as the Xbox monolith, but it's significantly taller.
Yeah, the sex box is just a big black box at least.
Yeah, it looks like it's modestly larger than the original monolith of a PS3.
Yeah, just scaling it off
It's
that
just-
CD drive, it's
Slightly
pretty
larger
big.
along every dimension. Like, my goodness, it's a humongous device. But I'd say that if I had to guess, I would say the reason is probably that they're trying to avoid the cooling racket that their consoles have historically had.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've heard that they've developed an entirely novel custom cooling system to try and keep the heat inside this thing under control.
that would
So
be
they
nice.
probably had to make it. They probably had to make it larger to keep the volume down.
Yeah, that'd be nice. My PS4 Slim, while it's under really heavy load, it sounds like there's a lawnmower under the TV.
yeah. PS4 Pro is even worse.
Yeah, it's bad. It's very noisy.
If you play a game on super de-duper PS4 Pro mode, you're gonna hear vrrr the whole time you're playing.
Yep.
Well, it usually takes about 10
So-
minutes before that starts, but after those 10 minutes, the vrrr won't stop.
Yeah. They unveiled a bunch of games, and unlike Microsoft, they also actually showed a bit of gameplay for some of them, which is quite nice. There's some good picks in there, like I'm actually kind of interested in that, actually getting a proper Ratchet and Clank again. You know, the last one we got was that movie tie-in, and it was just awful. It was a remake of the first game, and somehow, with having an existing game already there, they managed to completely ruin it. What else you got? You got a Demolition Derby game, which would be fun because it looks like you smash up the cars and get out and start punching each other. But it's magenta. Why has this become a trend, by the way? The magenta game.
I don't know, but I'm tired of people appropriating my StarCraft color.
Isn't it like a vaporwave thing, or like isn't it one of those those like with that Far Cry standalone they did?
Yeah.
That is
Oh,
it's
Blood
that
Dragon.
aesthetic being modernized.
Oh, you're thinking the kind of the retro thing.
That was
Yeah.
that was like 80s synthwavy.
Yeah. Whereas
Yeah, but I feel like they're trying to draw from that and modernize it, is what my impression is.
by putting in what they think young kids
By putting
are.
a pile of magenta in.
Yeah. This is what the young people are into these days. It's really irritating.
That's what young people were into 30, 40 years ago.
For about 5 minutes.
Yeah, that lasted maybe 2 years.
Yeah.
Also, I popularly heard the PS5 as being referred to as having a popped collar.
Yes, I've seen that.
I saw a Seto Kaiba one. I gotta find it.
I've seen that in a few places as well.
That would be perfect. Seto Kaiba's head poking out the top. It's
If
a
I
perfect
reckon-
fit.
4 different waifu versions. No, here's the 5th one.
Yeah, there you go.
I don't know how many of these are safe to put in our channel.
I'm just going to throw a safe net and say none.
I put Seto Kaiba in there.
There you go.
It works so well with Seto.
It does. So, this console, like, I'm not going to be in any big rush to get one. Apparently, the pre-orders are all sitting kind of about the $600-700 mark.
And if that's the actual price point, this is gonna need to hit one price drop before I get it.
I don't think that those prices are accurate.
I don't think they
because
are.
That would make the console dead on arrival. So that's not what they're going for. I don't think.
Considering what the market and basically the economy for everyone's going to be doing, I wouldn't be surprised to see it drop down to about the 400 mark, maybe.
Nobody has money right now because they kind of took away all the jobs.
The gerbs. The gerbs.
You can't ask that kind of cash money. Gonna work.
It ain't gonna work. So, yeah, the games look okay. I haven't seen any killer apps for it yet, though.
No, we're in the same boat we were in at the launch of the PS4, I think, where there's some cool stuff that looks there, but also most of that stuff will come out on PS4 as well until stuff settles on PS5. Even if they say they don't want that,
It's gonna happen.
we know it's going to happen because developers want to sell their junk.
Yes, they want to sell their stuff. The other thing is there is still no confirmed answer on what the backwards compatibility is going to be doing. Like every
Yeah, they
time
don't
someone
even seem
pops
to
up and
know.
talk about it, it's different.
Yeah, they apparently, I think they were just initially going to do, this is all headcanon, I got no sources on any of this, but I think what they were initially going to do is they were just going to do PS4 backwards compatibility, and the way they said it made it ambiguous, and people got really excited about possible backwards compatibility all the way back to PS3 or older. And they went, wait a minute, we're going to tick them off if we tell them no. We might want to consider this one, guys.
The Xbone's doing it.
That's
They
the
let-
big problem, though.
Yeah.
That's the big problem is that the Xbone, because they aren't
Sorry,
so
it's
worried
Xbox.
about they aren't so worried about what their console is like as how their platform performs, their whole live service. So they aren't worried about needing to cross all the T's and dot all the I's necessary for the purposes of backwards compatibility in the classical sense. So yeah, it's they have an easy route to it because their strategy, their overall strategy is geared towards accommodating that type of thing anyway. The PS5 one really isn't. The PS5 is built around the concept of those, high-powered exclusive AAA titles. That's always been Sony's approach.
Yeah, but looking at the
that
game
leaves them poorly
trailers,
positioned to do backwards compatibility.
yeah. Like,
The
looking at
only trailer that looked phenomenal was the Resident Evil 8 trailer, as far as stuff went that looked like it could show up as a cutscene or in engine.
Well, the reality is that you're not going to see anything that blows you away on any console ever.
No.
No.
That's not possible. What is impressive is only the things that you see from the technical perspective. Like if that Ratchet and Clank one performs in game the way it does in the trailer, which is entirely possible given the hardware, what that shows is a staggering ability to read stuff from the disk into the RAM at a staggering rate. Like, they are replacing the assets in memory faster than any other hardware on the market in order to do what they do with no loads. That's the part of it that they're trying to sell.
Yeah.
That and the load times are the two things most people care about.
Yeah, for those who haven't actually watched the trailer, what they're doing is jumping between completely different environments very, very quickly.
Yeah, the complete replacement of the art assets in memory are what they're trying to show off there.
Mm-hmm. And they're doing it. They do it almost seamlessly. They tend to, when they drop between dimensions, there's kind of a purple hyperspacey area for a moment.
But still, that's not a loading screen. That's way fast.
Yeah, it looks good.
I will just be happy to be done away forever with the loading screens of Prey and its ilk. Of these really high fidelity, Monster Hunter, these really high fidelity multi-poly count assets. That
Can
just
you imagine those several minute loads?
I don't need to. You can play Monster Hunter on the PC without them.
No, you can't. You have to buy it again to do that.
Well, yeah, you do. But at the moment, because my disk drive on my PS4 is busted, then that's the only place I can play Monster Hunter at the moment. So yeah, I'm actually debating, like, if the PS5 turns out to be, 100% backwards compatible with PS4, or preferably further, then I might just hold off, because I'm still looking at like $200, $300 to fix my PS4. Because of course it is. But, yeah. I just wish Sony would hurry up and pick what their message about the backwards compatibility is, because that would tell us if we want to buy it or not. Have you two just disappeared now?
No, I got distracted by Howard Stern in blackface.
I'm looking at the meme of Cell wearing the PS5 as a hat. And also Minas Tirith being built around the PS5.
Yeah, yeah.
I've seen that one too.
It's the wrong colour, but close enough. Like, this is going to be a thing for the next week.
yeah, it is.
Alright, anything else worth talking about this week?
On the video game stuff, I'm trying to see if there's anything I'm forgetting about the recent video game announcements on the PS5 stuff, but I really don't think so.
People are squawking about how they don't like how the new Demon's Souls looks.
Yeah, but that fan base will squawk about anything.
Yeah,
That's
admittedly.
true.
And the original Demon's Souls looked awful. It was
mostly plagued by technical problems. That was its biggest issue, is the game just couldn't keep a consistent frame rate to save its life.
Yeah.
And in a game that requires slow, precise actions, that is incredibly frustrating.
Yes.
There were strategies for taking on some of the levels that were known to lag, accounting for the lag.
In some cases, even relying on it.
Yeah, the speedruns do rely on the lag. They need the game to start wigging out.
So you
it's
can
hilarious.
break it.
Yeah, you can clip through the wall and like skip half the level.
Yeah. So there's Demon's Souls remake, which was going to happen sooner or later.
If they can get I would love to experience that game and not have it jank and jitter all over the place.
Yep.
It would be nice to see what
people are saying, but the color palette's all wrong now.
Oh, they can get over it.
Yeah,
it's a remake.
It is.
The first one's practically unplayable. It's so jittery.
It is. It's bad. Other games I'm looking for is the very first game in existence called Soulstorm, because there is no other.
Obviously.
Which is the Abe's Exodus remake, as well as Evil Genius 2, which I don't think was actually in the Sony one, but they've put out a new expansion for that. And if the old lady henchman isn't back, I'm going to riot. Damn it! Coolest henchman ever.
I think we're rioted out, man. I think we need to hold off on any riots.
Even for awesome homicidal old ladies?
Yeah, I mean, you can go, like, homicide somebody. That's pretty old school at this point. And also, the police want to arrest you because everything's apparently legal now. I heard they defunded them.
Apparently. Ugh. No, Australian police is actually still doing their thing, which is good. All right. What else we got? Nothing. Nothing at all.
This is not video games, but did you hear the Magic the Gathering news?
Oh no.
Oh no, I saw this and I hit my head up. I audibly hit my head on my desk at work and went, "Oh no!" as soon as I saw this pass my headlines.
Yeah. Do it.
I don't have a good list of them, unfortunately. That's the thing. I've been trying to find one, but I can't.
Wait, while you dig a list, I'll give them a small overview. So Magic the Gathering has been hurt deeply by the death of George Floyd, personally, like every other brand out there. And because they are brand, they are just excising cards from existence that have art or descriptions that can somehow, in some way, if you look at it through a microscope and twist your head upside down, see as maybe sorta kinda racist.
That's every card ever, though.
Yeah, but they've singled out a few, a good chunk of which are just destroy all black creatures.
Oh, for the record, I think that they're based in Seattle, aren't they?
Probably.
I wonder if they got to take it. They're close to it, I think. I wonder if they're living in the Chaz.
I doubt it.
So, I just saw this come across, and I just tuned out. Didn't they claim they fixed Magic the Gathering a few years ago?
Oh, they tried to get woke years ago, but that's the thing with going woke. You're never woke enough.
Yeah, there's no such thing.
It's not an achievable goal to be woke enough for the mob.
No.
Well, that's the point, really. That's entirely intentional on their part.
Yeah.
I've seen so many other things in the past that I can't find the new articles.
Yeah, I'm digging through OAG on hitting the back button, but the announcements for the PS5 are getting in the way as I hit the back button.
I tend to avoid OAG these days.
I do too, but it's if there's one website on the internet that's going to be around talking about this, it'll be OAG.
It'll be OAG.
I don't want to go to the Polygon article on it.
Yeah, OAG
Maybe
is
Forbes.
it's like we're very used to the left wing re, but OAG is the right wing re.
OAG is not the right wing re, it's the re-re-turd re.
We're just in recursion now, is it?
Yes.
Yeah, right.
I imagine. But yeah. So there was like a blue card that they censored that had like what looked like specters on it, but if you looked at it funny, they kind of looked like KKK hoods.
Invoke Prejudice, that one.
Yeah, that one.
Invoke Prejudice. It's a really bad enchantment to play for 4 blue, but
it's an old as dirt card, and it was clearly done tongue in cheek with the artist. Now that I think about it and go, oh, that kind of looks like it might be a KKK hood. It was clearly a joke.
Yeah,
but
you can't
no.
Anymore.
Yeah, jokes are illegal.
Jokes
might
are
hurt
illegal.
somebody.
Yeah, it allows you to counter. It allows you to counter cards that are of a different color. That's what it does. Like the entire thing is basically a pun.
It is. Oh dear.
I can't find a list of it. Damn it. There are various ones that have been banned, and there's no concise list anywhere. So I don't know what's going on here. I can't seem to find it. But I mean, various other ones. Like I didn't understand why stone throwing devils got banned. Like I'm not.
You know.
By the way, this isn't just censorship. They're actually banning these from use in play as well. I mean, none of them are important to the meta, but they're banned. They're not just censored. Yeah, but stone throwing devils, don't know why it's banned. They're devils throwing rocks. Like, what are you trying to say? Is what we are saying is that the Wizards of the Coast officers, stone throwing devils is a code word for some particular ethnic group, I presume. That's the only way to make sense of it, is that when you say stone throwing devils, people that work in Seattle think of something different.
Yeah. Oh, good. Okay, I think I got a list of them. Okay, it's
freak, it's on Polygon. I'm not staying on this website. I'm downloading all the images individually and not linking you all to the Polygon article. But I will post them as I bring them up once I get them all opened in a new tab and then saved.
Right, okay. Yeah, alright.
Bounding into Comics has it as well.
You're already
Well,
on
they've
Polygon,
only
you might as well just stay on that one page.
Oh, but yeah, I'm saving them. I'll start uploading them in just a second here, but we're almost there. Hang on, 2 more. Okay. These are not great quality pictures because Polygon's a piece of crap, but it was the first place I could find. I didn't think about doing this one for the show, so I didn't really plan for it. Okay, so first we have the one we mentioned earlier, Invoke Prejudice. I mean, most sane people, when they see that, have the haha, that's cute, and then move on.
If they even think about it at all.
If they even think about it at all. Crusades, apparently. 2 mana, white creatures get 1/1. Wasn't that a staple of some blocks of white weenie decks?
I expect it probably was way back.
Yeah, so I seem to remember that one. But yeah, can't have Crusades anymore. That's apparently racist somehow.
Not really sure why.
I guess it's because the white creatures are getting buff, and that's white supremacy, man.
Well, people have also got a bug up their asses about the Crusades now for some reason.
Yeah, that comes and goes every few years.
I'm not
From
sure
what I remember,
why.
2 or 3 of them were pretty well justified, and the other one, if you don't listen to liberal history, is probably justified.
There are one or 2 of them that went awry, but there are lots of sort of like magical crusades that only exist in the pop culture consciousness that never actually happened. Those are the evil ones for the most part.
Yeah.
A lot of them are simply made up. They never occurred in reality.
Yeah. And then we have the Jihad is banned as well.
It's actually called the Jihad?
Yeah, Jihad is banned. This is from the Arabian Nights set, ancient card. So choose a color. As long as the opponent has cards of this color in play, all white creatures gain +2/+1.
By the way, before white becomes yellow.
So basically, are they going forward? They're just taking color hosing completely off the table as a mechanic.
Only for white and black. Or rather, you can hose white cards, but you can't hose black cards.
So calling Native Americans red is now no longer a thing, is it?
That hasn't been a thing for quite some time.
See, it's a pattern with the left, right? They only get upset when black people are involved. Forget the facts. If a black person dies, we got to burn down the cities. I'm not even joking.
So there's nobody's green anymore.
No.
What about blue people? I know that there was like Nubians used to be referred to as blue black or something, but I'm trying to work out if there are reasons that they would have to stop using other types of color hosing as game mechanics.
Blue black was a literal description of their skin color.
Yeah, this is a deck I used to play in Magic. I used to play blue black the most.
It's a fun build.
Not for the other person. It is the most mean control deck possible in every single block.
I mean, if you don't want to allow your opponent to do anything ever,
I wouldn't class it as mean. I'd class it as dickish.
There you go.
If you want to just be a complete prick, then you play control, which is blue black or blue white.
And if you want
if you want nobody to ever play with you again, you do mono blue control, and then nobody gets to do anything ever. But when it comes to being mean, I think that mono black and black red control are actually worse because they're cruel. Like, I mean, have you read the text on Slaughter Games? I had like 4 of those in my deck.
Yeah, I think I've read it a long time ago. But Devil's Throwing Stones, because apparently, according to Wizards of the Coast, black people are the devil.
They're not even throwing spears.
Oh dear.
You said that one, not me.
That was all you.
It's because of you sending me that song.
I know. Gypsies are apparently racist somehow.
Yeah, that one I can see it.
Well, that one I think is the most racist of these bannings, in the sense that they're banning it because it has gypsies in it. Like, as though gypsies are not actually people. Like, they're not, as though they're not a real group.
Yeah.
Like, that
Because-
seems like racism to me, that they would get rid of that just because it depicts a particular people.
Yeah. A mysterious people indeed. Their origins are secret as their traditions.
Well, I mean, that's how they act in real life as well. They like to keep to themselves, and if there's one thing they hate, it's people trying to pretend that they're aesthetic.
Yep. So they hate the gypsies. That's good to know.
Dude, Irish gypsies, screw those guys.
Oh, wow.
Oh man! And then we
This-
have.
We're going to get
Because-
blocked from the YouTube police at this rate.
I'm surprised they haven't got us yet. It's only a matter of time.
Yeah.
But next we have, because you got to remember, the police are bad and locking people in jail is bad, and we got to demand a retrial with the court system that we abolished. To
Listen, I'm just playing to the crowd here. Like, our most dedicated listener is Serathis, and he'll enjoy it.
that's true. We
He
have.
hates Romanians.
Oh boy. I do not know enough to comment. I may or may not join you in your blatant racism. We will see.
Just
I don't
leave
think
it
I'm being
alone.
racist. I'm just making jokes. Remember when comedy was a thing?
No. Not anymore.
So remember, guys, imprisoning people is bad. So the card in prison's been banned.
What?
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 Yeah, the card in prison is banned because
Is that the one
It-
with the weird guy in the mask?
yeah, it's in the live show chat. It's the last one I posted. But its effect is pay 1 each time target creature attempts to attack, block, or tap. The action is prevented, and the target creature becomes tapped. Destroy enchantment if mana is not paid.
If it was, say, a blue card, do you think it would have been banned?
Probably because of the word.
Maybe not. I'd give it 50-50 odds. I think the
Because
fact...
I note conspicuously that aside from Invoke Prejudice and the Gypsy card, all of these are white cards and black cards.
Why is Crusade white creatures get +1/+1 somehow invoking white supremacy? I mean, it is literally on the game board, but you know, it's not the white people. I'm pretty sure, isn't there like not white planeswalkers for white?
Well,
Yeah.
there are tons of them, aren't they? And you know, the ones that are even human. I'm pretty sure that that one of the main white planeswalkers is a black guy, isn't he?
Yeah,
thought so
I can
too.
think of his face, but I can't think of the name. What was it?
It's stuck in my head. I'm going through the thing. There's a Johnny who's the lion man, but he's a white lion man.
Yeah, I thought he was a lion. Yeah.
Jura something, Gid something.
Gideon Jura?
Yeah, that one. I think he's white though. Yeah, he's white. I thought there was another non-white white guy.
I
Let's
could swear
get
there was
to the
one.
list.
Yeah, I'm just
Okay,
brain
Johnny.
part not because he was never any good. I think.
Oh my goodness, there are so many planeswalkers now.
Or it's the variants of the same planeswalker.
Yeah.
So,
Good grief.
But screw your continuity.
good lord,
I can't-
there's
I can't tell what ethnicity some of these guys are meant to look like.
I don't think you're supposed to in a lot of cases.
Well, they're
Okay.
all from other worlds. They don't have ethnicities that should reflect on ours there anyway, which is part of what makes all this so retarded.
yeah. Don't worry, they'll buff all the black planeswalkers and make sure that Gideon gets shafted because he's white. Not color. Color, because
No,
apparently we're on a crusade,
Gideon-
get it, against white people.
Gideon Jura's, I think, white, except that in the lighting of a lot of his cards, he looks... Actually, his skin color varies wildly, depending on the artist. In
Maybe
some
you
of them,
just-
he looks really dark.
Maybe
Not
you can
not
change
actually
it.
black,
Yeah.
really, brownish colored. But
Elspeth's like Hispanic Asian mix.
I could never tell who she was meant to be. She's obviously meant to be a Joan of Arc archetype, but
She's got the pale-ish skin, but she has all the features of like a Hispanic and Asian person mixed together.
Anyway.
I don't know what she's actually intended to be, but that's what it looks like to me. Yeah, like
I
Gideon.
honestly, I've never even thought about it until Wizards brought it up.
Yeah, I
and
hadn't
nobody
either.
else did. Literally nobody thought about it.
It's the only people that care about these things are the woke. There's only people who are sufficiently racist to care about the races of fictional characters are, left-wing progressives.
Yeah. Yeah. These people are stupid.
Alright, so that's enough of that nonsense, please.
It's not going to stop. It's election year.
But we
It's
already know
only-
the outcome.
This is they're going to want this to be the only thing that matters.
If you think the Chaz is as bad as it gets, we still got 5 months to go.
Yeah.
Think about that.
No, I refuse.
I think it's going to be interesting. There's so much can happen in 5 months.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, we've only had half a year, and this year seems to have had enough stuff to fill any other decade.
Enough disasters, certainly.
2020.
But remember when coronavirus was a thing? What was that, like 3 years ago?
I can't remember. Rioting seemed to have cured it.
No, it hasn't. Not in Australia, anyway.
No, it just doesn't exist to begin with. That's right. You can't cure something that doesn't exist.
That's more like it.
But
Incidentally,
I'm not-
the people here, everyone here is really hating the protesters at the moment. Because, hey, there was a confirmed COVID case, so now it's tens of thousands of people which are at high risk. So,
there are people
that's
that
second
buy
wave.
into this. How can you buy into the scaremongering at this point unless you're actually brain damaged? You have to be legitimately stupid to think I got to stay in my home and social distance at this point. If you
It's not
believe
really
that,
a question of stupidity. It's more of a question of how compatible are you with the NPC mindset where you just take your programming and go. Because there are a lot of people who see that as a virtue.
Yeah.
those people are stupid. But yeah. Ugh, the lockdown was the worst, I think, of all the things that have happened, easily.
Yeah. It wasn't so bad here, but in both cases, it kind of overreached.
As far as
for you two.
widespread, ongoing economic damage, it really does take the cake compared to anything that's happened in the past 40 or 50 years.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and they're so mad that it didn't kill our economy. We're coming back.
It did for the UK.
Oh, yeah, because the economy... No. It's the only reason the UK is hurt so badly is because it's ongoing there. They haven't released the lockdown.
Yeah.
They're trying to keep all of those people under wraps, and they've now surpassed... I think they've surpassed Spain and Italy now in terms of cases. Like, it's been worse because of them being locked down.
Mm-hmm. And lockdowns are actually killing more people. If we add the increased suicide numbers to it, this is outright just complete and total manslaughter is what this is. The suicide rates from people losing their jobs, their livelihoods, is nuts right now. We don't have the hard numbers yet, but they're really freaking huge.
Well, in New Zealand, we had almost no deaths to begin with, and we aren't under lockdown anymore. Nothing has changed. We haven't had any new cases recorded. We haven't had any hospitalizations or fatalities recorded for some weeks now. And but the thing is that's only different as when you're thinking in terms of percentages. In absolute terms, like our total number of casualties is probably like less than 20 or something like that. It wasn't very high.
Yeah, it was.
Maybe
It
30.
was pretty low.
Yeah, but that's because it was never an issue here to begin with. We just took a staggering amount of economic damage, and our beloved dear leader has been swanning about acting all like indignant that anybody would have had to lay off people. She doesn't even. She's acting like she doesn't understand why anybody would lay off their workers when the economy was shut down for weeks.
Because you're still asking for us for money because you're the government. And we don't have any new money coming in, you idiot.
Yeah, our total number of deaths is 22, and there are no active cases, no hospitalized cases.
It's hilarious that they're trying to make Wu Flu a thing again because Trump said he's going to have a rally.
Well, they can't place Trump in a situation where he's able to do things that Biden can't. So
Yeah, and he's just said he's doing the rally. He doesn't care what the media says at this point, or the health advisors.
Our show again.
At this point, it's so crossed over. Not our show, but the political tomfoolery industry are so intertwined that I don't think it really matters.
Yeah, I posted in our politics board on our Discord today a tweet from one Imran Khan saying that the first piece I wrote for Kotaku was about how police depictions of video games have to change, blah blah blah, and then he gets a reply saying that, oh yeah, I'm seeing conversations with devs about this already. Like, no, they didn't want to come for our games. They want to turn our games into vehicles for their political messaging. No, they wouldn't do a thing like that, would they?
And
No.
the reason I go out of my way to call this crap out on the show instead of keeping it confined to PMs with Fall is because we need people angry about this. And not angry in a riotty way, but enough people going, I'm not going to buy that if I keep seeing it, because now that you pointed out, it's all over the diddly dang place, and let's look for something new.
Well, it's not really about people being angry. It's about know that these people view you with absolute contempt. They would spit on you in the street if they could get away with it.
They just hate you. And they do not care about making a good product at the end of the day, which is, I think, the most important point. Most video game developers nowadays do not care about making a good product. They care about either pandering or making a cash grab. And I have anecdotal proof of this with just how many games are released that aren't freaking finished, even AAA ones.
Yeah, I don't know if this is going to naturally reach some sort of a head, but this is a new photo of the Chair's garden. I haven't seen this one yet. Apparently, this one is more up to date. They've added some stuff to it.
Oh dear!
I'll post it.
Oh yes, they have. They are attempting to figure it out. It looks like they've cut a hole in the cardboard and are trying to run irrigation lines. Somebody might have finally told them they got to actually put these things in the ground and water them constantly.
Why are there bricks in there?
I assume to hold the dirt back so that the irrigation line can be dug, but I have no idea.
Maybe it's just to stop people from standing on the plants because they probably don't realize that hurts them. Because after all, the grass grows even if you stand on it, right?
No. Not if you keep standing on it. If you walk in the same way on grass about 5 or 6 times, all that grass is going to start dying. It doesn't take a whole lot of paces to kill whatever's underneath your feet. So, yeah. And it is unfortunate. I would like the show to have remained segregated from politics, but it just isn't possible. We'd be doing a negligent job in not informing people of this garbage, I think. So yeah, all we want is good video games. That's all we want.
That was always the way, right? Like that was one of the mottos of Gamergate way back when, because that was like 4 years ago now or something. Or
Why?
More. That all we wanted was to play video games.
I was accommodating of all of this garbage and was totally okay with y'all doing whatever the heck you wanted with whatever messaging you wanted until you came for my video games and my tabletop. And then we weren't friends no more.
All right, shall we start packing up?
Yeah, oh, did anybody check the email box?
Yes. Nothing there today.
Pretty sure it's ended.
Okay, we just have the usual statistics email in there. Okay, we're good. All right, folks. Email topic of the week, and I'm being 100% serious. Let's talk about the Chaz some more, because this is hilarious.
I had a funny feeling.
I knew that was coming.
That you were interested in hearing about the Chaz.
Now, there's a new console. You can write to us about that too, I guess. But that's not as funny as the Chaz.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like nothing happened in the games industry this week. Just most of it's not stuff that has a lot of play with us. Like, there's a whole bunch of people talking about Dwarf Fortress, but you can write what I know about Dwarf Fortress on the back of a postage stamp in fat crayon.
Dwarf Fortress is great, but
well,
playing
everything that I know about Dwarf Fortress that doesn't come from a Seth video anyway.
Yeah, if you want to actually play the original game without any mods whatsoever, it's basically like opening the Necronomicon.
Which I gather is a thing that can actually happen.
Which is, in fact, a thing you can do. It's not a thing you should do, but it's a thing you can do.
Yeah. Anyway, apparently there was some news about that. What else was there? I'm trying to think of at least a couple of more newslets. Oh, right. 13 Sentinels had a release date announced. That was Vanillaware's latest.
Okay.
That's going to be released in the West on September the 8th. So a wee way away yet, but it's been in development for a long time. So I don't know when it was. Was it released in Japan a while back? I'm not even sure. At any rate, Vanillaware always does games with incredible art, and the gameplay is usually pretty tight as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that is.
And they're not
their normal fantasy fare. So
we'll get.
Is Ari saying something?
We'll get modern. I think I cut out there for a second, but we'll get modern booby ladies.
Possibly.
It's Vanillaware.
I don't know. It's mostly high school students this time, so they might attempt to be tasteful.
No,
it's Vanillaware.
It's Vanillaware, so no.
Well, like middle school students, so they'll be treading in dangerous waters if they aren't tasteful.
Hey, in Odin Sphere, it was none of the player characters that were the booby lady. It was just one boss you had to fight with everybody like 4 times. That Queen of the Underworld lady, or whatever her name was.
Yeah. Was there any other newslets?
No.
There's only bits and pieces here and there, unfortunately. But hopefully things will start to spool up again once, having seen PlayStation presentation, a lot of people will start remembering, holy crap, before we got distracted by all this other stupid, meaningless garbage, it was supposed to be E3 season.
Yeah. Just so much garbage going on. At the end of this year, we're going to have to do a year-end breakdown of real-life garbage that got in the way of video games.
It'll be a long list.
Honestly, I've forgotten most of it already. So,
what was it? Fire, then flu, then...
what happens if the pace continues to accelerate throughout the remainder of the year?
Then we're going to have to take a full week of research before we do that show.
If we're not dead by then.
Yeah, in case I don't get conscripted into an army because some kind of war's broken out. Oh, this year. Never forget this year.
I'm just glad I'm immune from army conscription.
I'm not.
You're not.
Since
But I'm technically colorblind, so yay.
If you want to basically work or get a driver's license in the state of Georgia, you have to sign up for the draft.
Yeah.
As soon as you turn 18. The draft.
Only if you're male.
And, yeah, and you can't claim any kind of disability, which anybody can do now. I wonder how that would go if conscription got enacted and all the soy boys stayed home because they had to make up an excuse.
Oh my goodness, there's a ReZero video game now.
I think there has been one for a while, yeah.
Why?
I mean, it's a popular franchise.
Is it? Is it though? These days, I can't tell the difference between a popular franchise and a franchise that somebody wants you to think are popular.
Yeah.
Like,
So,
remember what's it called? Batwoman.
Which one?
No.
The new Netflix one or whatever it was. The new
Oh, that one. Yeah, I do remember that, but only because you mentioned it and I laughed at it.
Yeah, because it was notoriously terrible. The star quit, and then they canned the series, and then they decided they weren't canning the series, but they are going to kill off the main character, being Batwoman.
You
Before
can't
moving
kill
on
off
to you.
Batwoman. She's got to go through a killing game arc and become so much cooler.
No,
Oh,
they're just killing her off.
Can't have Oracle.
Can't have Oracle
But,
because
yeah.
she's cool.
No. This is some other random lesbian lunatic.
Right.
But yeah, at any rate, they're ransacking that, but they lost. I think they lost something like 900,000 viewers over the course of an abbreviated season.
Woof.
And this is during a time where everybody's at home with nothing better to do than to watch streaming.
But there's so much stuff that's better worth your time on Netflix.
But at any rate, what I'm trying to get at is that if all you did was consume the critical media, you would have assumed that it was super popular and a great show. Ratings don't really bear that out. This is what I mean when I say that I don't know whether something is actually popular or whether people just say that it is.
Well, I did not see any positive talk about the Batwoman series. I do see people vehemently defending ReZero, though. It's all people making fun of.
They're vehemently defending it for the same reason that feminists vehemently defend Batwoman. It's because there are so many people that hate it. So
Yeah.
that's why I say there's not necessary. No, I'm not saying there's no connection between the quality of the series and the people that love it. I'm saying there's not a necessary connection between people defending something and that thing being worth defending.
Yeah.
I see.
There are people who will stick up for the absolute worst Drake.
Also,
Some
I
of
guess
which
the last
they'll do-
two reviews came out. There's
Yeah.
been some chatter about that as well, because apparently they're all 100%.
100%
Except,
what?
strangely, Kotaku and Polygon bucked the trend. And from the little bits and pieces I've heard about it, number one, there's a problem with their criticisms from what I've heard, and that because I haven't read them because I'm not going to go to their sites. But what I've heard is that their criticisms don't really mention the game at all. They're pretty much all on just the narrative, and they don't mention whether or not it's actually playable. But
Right.
in their defense, their criticisms of the narrative sound quite reasonable in that it's a narrative which is just ugly and nihilistic, and the characters don't go through any arc or grow at all. And I've seen people defend that by saying, oh, well, it's more realistic because most people do get set in their ways. But the point of a dramatic piece is not to reflect real life, it's to reflect themes from real life.
You can.
You don't necessarily want people to be boring and behave exactly they would in reality.
You do want to tell a story after all.
Yeah, but that was the Kotaku and Polygon criticism was largely centered around the fact that it's basically people being brutally violent to each other from start to finish, and nobody ever learns any lessons.
So
Yeah.
it's The Walking Dead.
I don't know. I've never watched any of it, so.
I always hate the argument that you can't have a good character without character development, which was an argument I see thrown at the show too. It's slightly different from the one you just pointed out, but it's one I see a lot too. But I'm like, that one doesn't hold any water, and that one always gets me a little riled.
I think that you can't build a story around a main character who has no character development, because then it's just it's like a Mary Sue story basically. No matter what that character is like, it becomes a Mary Sue story.
Yeah.
Because the story bends itself around the person rather than the person interacting with the story.
Yeah.
You have to have development of one kind or another in part of moving a plot forward. It's just necessary.
You
The plot
can
doesn't move
have-
forward without character development.
Yeah. You can have a static character in a secondary or tertiary role, but not in a primary role.
But they attribute it to. But the thing with ReZero is none of the characters develop,
No.
so we can't. We
But
can't
I think that part of that, though, what is sort of, I don't know whether it's what is appealing, but it's certainly what people hate in ReZero, is that not only did none of them develop, but they are entirely static, like mannequins almost. Like they've taken lack of development to a sublime level, which is the thing that they make the most fun of, I think, in Isekai Quartet.
Yeah.
Like the character of Emilia in Isekai Quartet is an absolute parody. Like it's really quite scathing, I found.
She's
the treatment
so
of-
sickeningly sweet and naive.
The treatment of that series in general in Isekai Quartet is really scathing compared to the other franchises that feature.
Yeah.
Like Konosuba characters act the same way they do in Konosuba.
Like idiots.
The Saga of Tanya, the evil characters, they act in a sort of a light-hearted, non-serious version of the way they act in Saga of Tanya the Evil, which is a much darker story. The Overlord characters are marginally softened. They basically they do the comedy parts of
Yeah,
Overlord
they do
all
the
the
silly
time
bits.
instead of part of the time. But in the case of ReZero, it's just vicious. It's more like a series critique than it is a sort of a spin-off. Because every single one of those characters, apart from maybe Beatrice, is just a horrible pastiche of their character attributes.
Yeah. To be fair, Subaru is kind of showing elements of what he should have grown to.
But
Namely
the thing
a
is that
completely
he's,
defeatist pessimist.
he still gets made fun of by the story though, because in every situation he tries to make out to the people around him like he's got a rough situation, and everybody just looks like I hate you because you don't understand how good you've got it.
Especially Kazuma.
Yeah, because he's like the person Kazuma thought he was going to be upon going to another world type of thing, except maybe Kazuma would have hoped for a few more special powers, but he thought that it was going to be all, I'm going to be surrounded by a harem of beauties and they're all going to be all over me, etc., etc. But that series just gets butchered in Isekai Quartet. It's actually made me want to watch it even less than I already did.
Yeah. It makes it a lot funnier in a vacuum too.
I don't know what the blonde girl is like in the original story, but she's the only one of the characters in Isekai Quartet from that universe who seems mostly sane.
Yeah. It's kind of funny, actually. You've got that ridiculously overpowered guy running around, so you'd think ReZero would be a lot sillier than it is. But nope.
Well, he's like a supporting character. Like
Yeah.
barely featured.
He turns up every now and again, and that's about it.
I always found it very stark how differently that ReZero is treated from the other series in that show.
Mm.
Anyway, we were closing the show before I serially distracted us as much as possible.
Yeah, let's do that, shall we?
I was looking for a rope to pull us back out of this.
Nah, there's no getting back out of this. Let's just stay down the hole.
All right, remember to send us an email to the No Excuses Autonomous Zone email or something.
Yes.
Where we will read it free of all outside intervention on the show. Or something.
That's a blatant lie.
Oh, we'll read it, but it's going to be only in our email box. It may not be allowed to be read on air because the email box is now an autonomous zone, so nothing can leave. Oh dear.
Oh no.
Don't worry. A bunch of celebrities will make a grayscale video to save us all.
Yay!
Oh, and after that, they'll all call up their friends on Instagram and all post in blackface. What is this timeline? That happened.
The best timeline and the worst timeline all at once.
It is the most interesting timeline.
It's definitely a line.
Well, you can blame this on all those people who wished to live in interesting times then.
Yeah.
That was my bad, guys. I might have cursed a few people with that in my day and time. All right, folks. We'll see you next week. And if there's more Chaz, I'm going to talk more about the Chaz. Don't worry, I'll keep you informed. We'll see you then. Sayonara. Bye-bye.